ambition is far off course, as our priorities here in Madrid have run into challenges that, much like the crisis itself, are man-made. The negotiations on market mechanism must deliver robust rules and regulations that protect environmental integrity, prevent double counting, promote an overall mitigation of global emissions, and provide an avenue for more reliable resources to be used for rapid adaptation. Instead of taking ambitious steps forward, we're seeing backwards attempts to rewrite the Paris Agreement and bring in credits that have already been created under the Kyoto Protocol. Further, the Pacific is concerned that humanity is on the cusp of another terrifying crisis, the abandonment of science. While our climate change projects have had to be science-driven and evidence-based in order to be approved, certain actors are happy to pay lip service and not meet the demands that well-established science has revealed. Worse still, others have put on blinders and are denying the very existence of an immense wealth of information and science. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, the world must adjust course to avoid catastrophe. We must align our NDCs to common 5-year timeframes, and we must agree on the governance modalities, procedures, and guidelines for carbon markets under Article 6 without delay. We must seek out new and innovative ways to address loss and damage, and PCIDs call for the establishment of a new financing window within the Green Climate Fund to do so. We must ensure we reach the $100 billion climate finance goal by 2020, and we must begin work on setting a new collective goal for climate finance for 2025 and beyond. For the survival of PCIDs and for the world, we must set a stage not of ignorance and denial, but of ambition for COP26. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Laszlo Solimos, Deputy Prime Minister of Slovakia. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Dear Excellencies, honorable ladies and gentlemen, let me thank the government of Chile and Spain for inviting us here in the splendid city of Madrid. Your successful cooperation is an example of our strong commitment to work hard and fast towards our common goal. We all have gathered here because we are aware of the urgency to accelerate climate action supported by the recent clear scientific evidence. If we want to preserve our planet for the future generations, fundamental and transformative changes are needed in our key systems. They provide us necessities such as food, energy, and mobility, and at the same time present climate and environmental pressures and health impacts. We need to move towards a more sustainable and climate-friendly production and consumption patterns. Slovakia is fully aware of steps that need to be taken and has been consistently working towards their implementation. In the last 30 years, Slovakia has undergone radical industrial and social changes. Our GHG emissions decreased by roughly 40% since 1990. We have experienced changes in heavy industry, a large drop in energy consumption, change in agriculture, expansion of transport, and the development of infrastructure. We have achieved significant fuel switch from coal and oil to natural gas and renewables, and transformation towards energy-intensive industrial activities. Our electricity generation has become one of the last carbon-intensive, with almost 80% of electricity generated from carbon-free sources. Recently, Slovakia has made a politically bold decision to end subsidies for domestic coal-fired electricity production by 2023. This will lead to to phasing out of inefficient coal extraction and transformation of the entire coal mining region based on just transition approach. As a result, the future of this region will go hand in hand with smart and low carbon innovations. In addition, we have decided to increase our 2030 reduction targets in EU no emission trading sectors from 12 to 20%. At the same time, our energy efficiency and renewable energy targets up to 2030 will be also increased. We believe that these efforts will help us to join all other EU countries in achieving European climate neutrality by 2050. To support these ambitions, Slovakia has allocated additional €2.5 billion for climate and environmental investments in the next decade. We are aware of our share of global responsibility. Therefore, this year, for the first time, Slovakia made a contribution of $2 million to the Green Climate Fund and plans to continue to do so in the coming years. While in the past national climate and energy policies used to be more reactive, now is the time to move a proactive approach. We are already reflecting this approach in our strategic planning. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have no more time to waste. Strong partnerships from global to local levels and across all sectors are essential on the way to a safer and more prosperous world. Action speaks louder than words. We all need to unite and act in this challenging time of transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Mr. Isabella Lövin, Deputy Prime Minister of Sweden. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Excellencies, natural disasters are pestering our planet more and more frequently and more violently. Just recently, we've seen severe flooding here in Spain and in Venice, in Kenya and all over East Africa, where hundreds of people tragically have lost their lives. The past year, hurricanes have demolished the Bahamas, Mozambique, and historic wildfires have ravaged California and Australia. And not least, marine heat waves have killed coral reefs and life underwater. We see what is happening, and we hear the calls for action from the youth movement and from all sectors of society that committed to action at the UN Climate Action Summit, and we hear the calls from the scientists. Dear world, we must act on science and facts. Anything else would be complete irresponsibility or total immorality. It's really not that difficult. Let's just understand one simple fact. Getting out of fossil fuels is not a sacrifice. It's the salvation of our planet and of people living here now and of all future generations. The time to act is now. I'm going to outline 4 key areas. First, we need to enhance ambition. Our current pledges are far from sufficient. They will lead us to at least 3 degrees, not 2 degrees, and absolutely not 1.5. Secondly, Article 6 can play a key role to reduce global emissions, but it is essential that the rules we decide on ensure the highest possible integrity. We simply cannot afford to register emissions reductions on paper if they are double counted and not reduced in reality. Thirdly, we must respond to climate change in a more integrated way and find synergies between reducing emissions, protecting biodiversity, and improving ocean health. This should be reflected in the decisions of this blue COP. Lastly, as we move from words to action, it's time to incorporate the Paris goals into our national laws, policies, and programs. In Sweden, we've begun our journey with a climate law obliging us to reach net zero emissions by 2045 at the latest. And Sweden will continue supporting developing countries, and we've doubled our contribution to the Green Climate Fund. Excellencies, the world and our very own children are calling on us to act. No one can do it alone, but if we all work together, we can do it. Let this be the COP where leaders show the world we're determined to do it here and now and without any hesitation. Let's just do it. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Jorge Araiza Montserrat, Minister of People's Power for Foreign Relations of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias. Buenos días, tanto al Gobierno de Chile como al Gobierno de España. Agradecerle sobre todo a España por haber logrado que se organice tan importante conferencia en tiempo récord. Queríamos comenzar con una cita de 1845 que dice lo siguiente: la esencia del pez es su existencia, el agua. La esencia del pez de agua dulce es el agua del río, pero este deja de ser la esencia del pez y ya no sigue siendo un medio de existencia satisfactorio tan pronto como el río es puesto al servicio de la industria, tan pronto como es contaminado por colorantes y otros productos de desecho y lo navegan los barcos de vapor, o tan pronto como su agua es desviada hacia canales donde el simple drenaje puede privar a los peces de su medio de existencia. 1845, el profesor Carlos Marx lo advertía ya entonces. En 1992, el presidente, comandante Fidel Castro Ruz decía que había una especie humana en peligro de extinción y esa especie era la humana. Podemos nosotros, 27 años después, decir que sigue la especie humana en peligro de extinción. Permítanme también recordar las palabras que hace 10 años exactamente tomó de las calles de Dinamarca, de las manifestaciones contra aquella conferencia sobre el cambio climático, el comandante Hugo Chávez, y aunque trataron de no darle la palabra a él o al presidente digno, Evo Morales de Bolivia, Hugo Chávez recordó: no cambiemos el clima, cambiemos el sistema y en consecuencia comenzaremos a salvar el planeta. Para Venezuela es fundamental que la comunidad internacional renueve su compromiso con el multilateralismo, así como con el derecho internacional en todas las áreas, especialmente en el área climática. Pero podemos hablar de una crisis del clima, más bien hablemos de una emergencia. Es más, llamémosla por su nombre, es casi una catástrofe y tenemos que detenerla inmediatamente. El planeta ha sido víctima del modelo capitalista y sus patrones de consumo y producción, de su relación con los modos y medios de producción asociados al neoliberalismo y del secuestro financiero del orden mundial. Por eso, para nuestro país no cabe la posibilidad de aceptar el borrón y cuenta nueva sobre los compromisos del periodo pre-2020. Los principales países industrializados no están cumpliendo las promesas que hicieron para reducir las emisiones de gases de efecto invernadero. Y si bien las tasas de emisión están cayendo en casi todos los países industrializados avanzados, las caídas son demasiado lentas para cumplir con los compromisos que los gobiernos asumieron. Si ni siquiera podemos ponernos de acuerdo con simples paliativos, cuando el reto en realidad es cambiar el modelo de producción, imagínense cuán lejos estamos de las soluciones. Más grave aún es la posición de los Estados Unidos de América, país que con profunda irresponsabilidad, siendo uno, si no el principal actor con participación propia en el conflicto climático mundial, con una estimación del 15% de las emisiones de gases de efecto invernadero, es hoy el principal generador per cápita y a pesar de ello pretende desviar la atención y excluirse de nuestras políticas comunes y colectivas. Los acuerdos no pueden basarse en transferir la responsabilidad de los que contaminan, pagando a los países del sur para que no contaminen, mientras los del norte han contaminado y seguirán contaminando. Lamentamos las dificultades crecientes en la fase de implementación del Acuerdo de París. Vehículos eléctricos, sí, muy bien, pero ¿y la huella ecológica para la producción de los vehículos eléctricos? ¿La huella para la producción de las baterías? ¿La huella para la energía que necesitan? Tenemos que hablarle al mundo con la verdad. ¿Por qué no se habla en este foro de la fracturación de la corteza terrestre para la extracción de petróleo, el famoso fracking, una técnica de las transnacionales que debe ser evitada? La República Bolivariana de Venezuela mantiene su compromiso con el Acuerdo de París, a pesar de que somos un país en desarrollo con una mínima aportación. Pero hemos de denunciar aquí que las medidas coercitivas unilaterales que ha impuesto Estados Unidos sobre Venezuela y otros países harán muy difícil que podamos cumplir con nuestros compromisos nacionales y, sin embargo, seguimos apostando a lograrlo. Señora Presidenta, distinguidos delegados, el 50% de la totalidad del territorio venezolano, equivalente a unas 46 millones de hectáreas, se encuentran bajo la figura de protección, áreas bajo régimen especial, con niveles importantes de protección. Podemos decir que las áreas más protegidas equivalen al tamaño geográfico de Chile y las áreas con distintos niveles de protección equivalen al área geográfica de España. En este contexto y en cumplimiento de los compromisos adquiridos en el Acuerdo de París y nuestra contribución nacionalmente determinada, el 21 de marzo de 2017, nuestro presidente Nicolás Maduro decretó la creación del Parque Nacional Caura, catalogado como el más extenso del planeta, con 7.5 millones de hectáreas de selva tropical húmeda, y en agosto de este año aprobó la incorporación de 10.000 nuevos funcionarios para el Cuerpo Civil de Guardiaparques y 10.000 bomberos forestales, cuya meta será cumplida antes del primer trimestre del año 2020. Venezuela igualmente se compromete con la incorporación de la perspectiva de género en todas sus políticas climáticas, pues sin duda la mujer se ve afectada de manera desproporcionada por los impactos del cambio climático. Solicitamos que para una próxima sesión se dedique mayor tiempo a la consulta de tan importante tema de la agenda del órgano subsidiario sobre la implementación. Asimismo, destacamos que en el año 2020 se celebrará el 25 aniversario de la Declaración y Plataforma de Acción de Beijing. Señora Presidenta, no podemos olvidar que la realidad climática actual demanda la inclusión de temas de carácter social en este espacio. Para finalizar, nuestro país hace un llamado a la comunidad internacional a asumir un modelo de desarrollo de mayor sustentabilidad, que cambie los actuales esquemas de intervención sobre la tierra, dado que son insostenibles y representan una amenaza para la supervivencia de los sistemas naturales que regulan el clima y sostienen la productividad. La especie humana sigue estando en peligro de extinción hoy más que hace 27 años. No cambiemos el clima, cambiemos el modelo de producción, cambiemos el sistema, hablemosle a los pueblos con la verdad y efectivamente es tiempo de actuar. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you, Your Excellency. And now it's my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Riyad Malki, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the State of Palestine, speaking on behalf of the Group of 77 in China. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Distinguished Madam President, I have the distinct privilege to deliver this statement on behalf of the Group of 77 in China, composed of 135 developing countries representing 4 of every 5 people on Earth. Allow me first to express Palestine's and the Group's sincere appreciation of and happiness for the apt leadership of the Republic of Chile, a member of the Group, in the climate negotiations this year at this COP. The State of Palestine is proud to have worked with the Church to contribute constructively and positively to the negotiations and work of COP25, which we believe is of strategic importance for the present and future of our peoples and future generations. I would like to also express, once again, on behalf of the group, our sincere appreciation to the Kingdom of Spain for its generous hosting of COP25 and point out our gratitude for the hospitality and excellent organization. As developing countries, our pursuit of the right to development and achieve the eradication of poverty must be respected and safeguarded. The increasing impacts of climate change and associated losses and damages on our socio-economic circumstances and development prospects are posing increasing challenges to our development prospects, over and above the continuing microeconomic development challenges that many of our countries face. In the UN climate change negotiations, our right to sustainable development is best safeguarded through the application of the guiding principle as set out by the Convention and its Paris Agreement of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capacities in light of different national circumstances. This principle is founded on the concept of equity and of fairness under international law. In this context, even as we developing countries respond based on our different national circumstances to calls for enhanced ambition on adaptation and on mitigation, we call on our partners to show enhanced ambition in taking the lead to reduce their emissions and in being more ambitious in the provision of support to developing countries, including for adaptation, the impacts of response measures, and loss and damage arising from climate change. Such enhanced support from developing countries is indispensable to having an enhanced and more ambitious focus on adaptation and the pursuit of sustainable development by developing countries when implementing the Paris Agreement. Furthermore, the provision of climate financing to developing countries must be depoliticized to allow us to move forward. Adaptation is a great priority for developing countries and must be treated in a balanced manner compared to mitigation actions. Adaptation, including the mechanisms, funding institutions, and institutional arrangements that have been set up under the Convention and the Kyoto Protocol, cannot be left behind in the continued development of the implementation arrangements for the Paris Agreement. Support for adaptation action in developing countries, as well as support for enhanced action on addressing loss and damage, will be increasingly crucial for developing countries as the adverse effects of climate change scale up in the future. Mitigation actions must also be safeguarded, maintained, and upheld. COP25 takes place at a crucial historical junction. 2020 is quite literally around the corner. This is the year in which partners' pre-2020 actions under the Convention are supposed to conclude and lay the foundation for future climate changes for parties to the Paris Agreement. However, fulfillment of long-standing commitments for ambitious climate actions under the Convention are still not met, including reducing emissions and the provision of support to developing countries. Thus far are insufficient. Unfortunately, some developed countries, including one that is responsible for almost 1/3 of historical emissions and 1/5 of current emissions, have seemingly turned their back on their commitments. Finally, we believe COP25 demonstrated once again how critically important and urgent maintaining unity and trust in the multilateral climate negotiations process is. This approach is challenging and maybe even frustrating, but it is the only path to address the serious challenges we collectively face and which threaten the future of humanity. In this regard, we regret the cynicism shown by major partners towards multilateralism and the international rules-based order as a whole. This disruptive attitude, which in the context of the climate crisis also relies on pseudoscience, is a serious challenge that undermines our collective efforts and interests. We have an obligation to act responsibly and to be guided by our joint interests and the science. Unilateralism, isolationism, and pseudoscience threatens our effort, and we have a responsibility to ensure that they do not hijack our ongoing efforts. It must also take into account our people's absolute right to prosperity and development, especially where these rights have been denied, delayed, or obstructed needlessly and cruelly. As the chair of the Group of 77 on China, I'm proud that the group is a constructive and responsibly actor and is ready and willing to push the deliberations forward in a balanced and constructive manner. In closing, Madam President, allow me to reiterate again the group's appreciation of the presidency and our gratitude for your leadership in navigating the complex and vital issues that COP25 addressed. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now it's my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Omar Antonio Figueira, Minister of Fisheries, Forestry, the Environment and Sustainable Development of Belize, speaking on behalf of the Alliance of the Small Island Developing States. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Madam President, ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I stand here representing the collective voice of 44 low-lying island and coastal countries whose existence is on the line. Steady, unrelenting rise of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere with no end in sight conscribe us to an unrecognizable and insecure future. And humanity, as we know it, will be no better off for it. A planetary crisis is upon us, and none can find solace in political exceptionalism from what nature has in store for us. The demise of Earth's life support system will be indiscriminate. Rising seas, apocalyptic storms, prolonged droughts, scorching temperatures, rampant wildfires, disappearing biodiversity on land and in the oceans. Sadly, I can go on. These are impacts that no one, no country can escape. These threaten global security and stability and jeopardize the prosperity of all peoples. Where I come from, that threat is not distant. It is our reality. Belize finds itself in a state of emergency because of an unforgiving and profoundly costly year-long drought. The Bahamas, like Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, and many other Caribbean isles are still recovering from hellish hurricanes Dorian, Maria, and Irma that ravaged their shores and set back hard-earned development gains. Across the Pacific and Indian Oceans, islanders are facing inundation. Whole islands, people's homes are at risk of disappearing much sooner than previously predicted. The time to act decisively and meaningfully is rapidly running out. We have squandered 25 years in zero-sum debates, even as our indecision accelerates the literal burning and collapse of our world. To take decisive and meaningful climate action. We still can and we must. The Paris Agreement sets the foundation for us to achieve net zero emissions and to hold temperatures to below 1.5, but promises the means by which we can help one another, especially the weakest among us, to face the unavoidable impacts of climate change and to invest in a future where our children can enjoy the very dreams we once had. That is why we must respect and fulfill our commitments under the agreement. The small island nations that I represent embrace our duty to act consistent with the Paris goals and to honor our responsibility for future generations. At the Climate Summit in September, we responded without hesitation to the Secretary General's call for bold and ambitious plans. We resolved to bring forward our NDCs in 2020, hand in hand with our ambitious partners. We resolved to achieve 100% renewables by 2030 and also joined the call to raise ambition for climate adaptation and resilience. We made it clear that investment in our climate future is an investment with global benefits as we collectively learn how best to protect our people in the face of the worsening climate crisis. Madam President, even though the members of the Alliance of Small Island States contribute less than 1% of global emissions, we are stepping up to enhance climate action in the short term and to demonstrate the rapid and far-reaching changes that are needed and that are achievable over the longer term to move to net zero emissions. We are leading by example. I can assure you that SIDS have been and will remain the vanguard of climate action and the benchmark of ambition. But we cannot do this on our own. Our capacities to sustain ourselves are rapidly and uncontrollably eviscerating. We are already experiencing irreversible loss and damage. And if, in the next decade, the world fails to take aggressive action to curb emissions, the future of our people and our nations hangs in the balance. The science is irrefutable and compelling. After a century and a half of industrialization carried out on outside of our control, the point of reckoning is now. We stand or else we fall. I am here to make a solemn appeal on behalf of the Alliance of Small Island States. I urge all nations to join us to prevent irreparable and worse yet, irreversible harm to our planet. We have the privilege of our office as leaders, and with that, an overriding responsibility to protect the people who have placed their trust in us. We have a choice, but that choice must be ambitious, lest we bequeath an inhospitable planet beyond repair to our children. I urge you to look past the immediate political challenges and the divides that have set us apart these past 25 years and prevented decisive action. I urge you to look beyond where we are now and to the world we want to give our children and succeeding generations. I urge you to uphold that vision and let us make the 2020s our decade of ambition. This is indeed our last opportunity to secure a 1.5-degree world. We must raise climate ambition to define a climate legacy that will guarantee a life of dignity, prosperity, and a cleaner world for succeeding generations. It is not too late. We must lead and we must act now. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Petteri Lehtonen, State Secretary, Ministry of the Environment of Finland, and His Excellency Mr. Frans Timmermans, First Vice President of the European Commission, speaking jointly on behalf of the European Union. Your Excellencies, you have the floor.
Thank you. Dear President, distinguished heads of state and government, ministers, colleagues, allow me to start by expressing our full support to the Chilean presidency in guiding our work and by thanking the government of Spain for their solidarity and support to the multilateral process by making this meeting possible. The EU is here to work with all of its international partners to find robust and long-lasting solutions to our shared challenges. We will spare no effort to secure these outcomes. This ministerial segment is taking place against a stark backdrop. The scientific findings are increasingly alarming. Greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere have reached another record high, and the negative impacts of climate change are increasingly felt all around our planet. Youth and civil society continue to call for urgent and ambitious action, and rightly so. There really is no room for complacency. At this COP, governments must show their determination and their readiness to enhance ambition and step up climate action. This message is critical to the outside world, to our stakeholders and constituencies. The political narrative coming out of COP25 will need to capture our resolve. For the remaining days here in Madrid, we will redouble our efforts to ensure a successful outcome of the COP25. We want to secure operational outcome for market measures. We want to ensure that these market mechanisms create strong incentives to reduce emissions now and in the future. This means avoiding double counting and affecting current and future ambition. Compromises that undermine environmental integrity are not acceptable to us. We want to complete the second review of the Warsaw International Mechanism for Loss and Damage. Mobilizing and catalyzing effective action remains essential for averting, minimizing, and addressing loss and damage. We have already achieved good results in important matters like capacity building, and we'll continue to work towards a successful outcome of the Gender Action Plan. In the past few years, we have expanded our family in the UNFCCC by empowering and encouraging non-state actors to become part of this process. In response, they are showing us that global transition and the Paris Agreement goals are within reach. The involvement of the non-state actors is essential for achieving progress in implementing climate action. The economic actors, consumers, and citizens hold the power to change the consumption and production patterns of our societies. We, governments and regulators, are holding the pen in designing the enabling environment so that they accelerate action and leapfrog progress.
Mr. President, dear colleagues, 4 years ago we celebrated the landmark Paris Agreement, a breakthrough in multilateralism, the global fight against climate change. Now the urgency is upon us, and 2020 will test our collective ability to deliver. At the risk of stating the obvious, I will underline one point. The Paris Agreement in itself won't change the trend. The real challenge is in implementing the vision and the spirit of this agreement. Governments all around the world are responsible for putting in place the necessary policies and measures, creating financial mechanisms and incentive structures to accelerate the global transition to a more sustainable, low-emissions economy and providing their citizens with a safe future. Nor is this COP, whatever its outcome, the end of the story. By COP26 in Glasgow, we will all need to communicate or update our NDCs and submit our long-term strategies in line with the Paris objectives. This is what we collectively agreed in Paris. The European Union is hard at work to do this. In the EU, ambitious policies and measures have enabled us to effectively decouple economic growth from the growth of emissions. We've put in place legislation to deliver and even exceed our current NDC, but we want to go further. Tomorrow, the European Commission will present the European Green Deal. We want to make the EU climate neutral by 2050 and do so in a way that also makes our climate strategy Europe's new growth strategy. The vast majority of EU leaders already support this objective, and we expect to submit our long-term strategy to the UNFCCC in early 2020. It is clear that this transition will bring significant challenges, but first and foremost, it's an opportunity to create a better future. We know we can make it a success, and we hope our example will pave the way for others. We're also stepping up our outreach in cooperation with our partners. The EU continues to be the world's biggest climate finance donor, providing over 40% of the world's public finance, which amounts to 21.7 billion in 2018. We must make sure that the most vulnerable are supported in their efforts. We've just heard how difficult their plight is, and that they are empowered and have the capacity to deal with the changes and find new and sustainable ways forward. We cannot afford to leave anyone behind. This applies both at the EU level as well as globally. The European Union looks forward to a successful outcome at COP25 that will represent another important stepping stone to our collective achievement of the goals that we have set out for ourselves in Paris. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. And now it's my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. James Shaw, Minister for Climate Change of New Zealand. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Inga mana, inga reo, inga iwi, inga rau rangatira mā. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Senora Presidenta, Excellencies, delegates. A common thread that runs through the Paris Agreement is the commitment that we have all made to each other to do what we can to help solve the problem of climate change. Progress towards that goal will not be achieved by a handful of countries like New Zealand individually stepping up to play our parts. It will happen because of the countless actions taken by governments, cities, towns, and local communities around the world. Actions that together can add up to a stable climate for all of us. That is the international system at work. With the Paris Agreement soon to take effect, it is more important than ever that we agree a system of cooperation and environmental integrity worthy of the promise of Article 6. If we can put that in place, then there is a pathway for us to raise ambition and lower costs whilst engaging the private sector in spreading finance, technology, and expertise into new areas. Senora Presidenta, Pacific nations are amongst those most at risk from climate change and amongst those with the least resources to be able to adapt. Rising sea levels, ocean acidification, and catastrophic cyclones are just some of the consequences threatening Pacific people's livelihoods and ability to provide for their families. The Paris Agreement's commitment to seek to limit global temperature increases to 1.5 degrees is of utmost importance to all nations. But for many of our Pacific neighbours, its importance is existential. Like any family, we have a responsibility to look out for one another. At least 2/3 of New Zealand's $300 million of climate change-related support between 2019 and 2022 will be provided to Pacific nations directly. And we are proud to welcome Tokelau as a valued member of our delegation here in Madrid. Ulu tōna mai. Senora Presidenta, 5 weeks ago, we passed through our Parliament with bipartisan support legislation committing ourselves and all future governments to significant domestic greenhouse gas emissions reductions. Our Zero Carbon Act enshrines the 1.5 degree temperature threshold into primary legislation. It establishes a system of emissions budgets that will act as stepping stones towards the long-term target of net zero carbon emissions by 2050. We've also introduced specific measures to drive down emissions, including the reform of our emissions trading scheme, billions of dollars worth of investment in rail, buses, cycling and walking infrastructure, and the planting of 1 billion trees. Internationally, we continue to advocate for fossil fuel subsidy reform, and we have contributed $15 million over 4 years to the first replenishment of the Green Climate Fund, a 5-fold increase over our previous contribution. We know that lasting action on climate change demands that we keep working every single day, for this is the only way that we can keep our promise to you, that we will leave behind a world that is better off for what we did. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's my pleasure now to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Mariam Elizabeth Bekaye, Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development of Mauritania. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Excellences, Madame la Présidente de la 25e conférence des parties à la Convention cadre des Nations Unies sur le changement climatique, Mesdames et Messieurs, la tenue de cette 25e conférence des parties m'offre l'opportunité et l'honneur de m'adresser à vous au nom de Son Excellence, M. Mohamed Al-Ghazouani, Président de la République islamique de Mauritanie. Permettez-moi tout d'abord de remercier et de féliciter Son Excellence Madame Carolina Schmidt, ministre de l'Environnement du Chili et présidente de la COP25, ainsi que le gouvernement et le peuple du Royaume d'Espagne pour la parfaite organisation de cette importante conférence. Mes compliments s'adressent également à Son Excellence M. Antonio Guterres, secrétaire général des Nations Unies, et à l'ensemble de ses collaborateurs pour l'organisation en septembre dernier du sommet de l'ONU, au cours duquel le secrétaire général a attiré notre attention sur l'urgence d'une action climatique renforcée. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, la hausse des températures, les sécheresses, les inondations dévastatrices, la déforestation, l'érosion de la terre et de la biodiversité, la montée et l'acidification des océans. Voilà quelques exemples de ce que le monde vit aujourd'hui. C'est dire que nous subissons déjà les manifestations du dérèglement climatique. Nous savons désormais, au vu des études scientifiques de plus en plus élaborées, qu'en l'absence de mesures phares, le réchauffement planétaire impactera partout dans le monde les systèmes économiques, environnementaux, sanitaires, urbains, sociaux et même sécuritaires. Dans ce contexte préoccupant, l'adaptation doit demeurer au cœur de la mise en œuvre de l'accord de Paris et de nos efforts. À ce sujet, nous notons que les régions, les pays et les communautés les plus vulnérables manquent toujours de données pour élaborer des projections climatiques fiables et n'ont pas suffisamment accès aux solutions technologiques et aux financements nécessaires pour développer des solutions innovantes d'adaptation. L'Afrique, qui est l'un des continents les plus durement touchés, n'est pas encore suffisamment préparée ni outillée pour appréhender toute la complexité des conséquences que pourrait engendrer une élévation moyenne de la température mondiale, même de 1,5 degré Celsius. C'est pourquoi nous devons continuer à soutenir la mise en œuvre des initiatives africaines d'adaptation qui contribuent à l'atteinte des objectifs de l'agenda 2063. Je citerai notamment les initiatives sur les énergies renouvelables, l'initiative pour l'adaptation de l'agriculture, l'initiative de la Grande Muraille verte ou encore les initiatives portées par la Commission Climat pour le Sahel et la Commission Climat pour le bassin du Congo. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, mon pays, la Mauritanie, figure parmi les pays les plus vulnérables au changement climatique, alors que ses émissions de gaz à effet de serre représentent une part insignifiante des émissions mondiales. Aujourd'hui, la désertification et la dégradation des terres touchent près de 83% de notre territoire. Les zones boisées ne représentent pas plus de 9% de la superficie du pays. L'utilisation du bois comme énergie domestique concerne encore près de 65% des ménages en milieu rural et le littoral, qui concentre la majorité des activités socio-économiques du pays, est déjà impacté par l'érosion marine et le recul du trait de côte. Face à ces contraintes, nos efforts ont porté sur le développement des énergies renouvelables, principalement le solaire et l'éolien, qui couvrent aujourd'hui près de 42% de l'énergie produite par la Société nationale d'électricité, contre seulement 24% en 2009. Les subventions aux hydrocarbures ont été progressivement réduites et d'importants investissements ont été réalisés afin d'améliorer l'accès à l'eau potable. Nous avons également supprimé les taxes sur l'importation des bus neufs pour encourager le transport en commun et fixé à 8 ans l'âge minimum des véhicules importés. Afin d'améliorer la résilience des écosystèmes et soutenir le développement communautaire dans les zones arides, des projets de reboisement, de restauration et de valorisation des terres dégradées ont été développés dans le cadre de l'initiative nationale de la Grande Muraille verte. Avec une zone économique exclusive de 234 000 km², caractérisée par l'abondance et la diversité de ses ressources halieutiques, avec près de 600 espèces de poissons, et conscient du rôle joué par les océans dans le développement durable et dans la régulation du climat, nous avons développé une stratégie de gestion des pêcheries par quota qui nous a permis de réduire significativement l'effort de pêche sur les espèces surexploitées qui ne représentent plus que 10% aujourd'hui. Nous continuerons en outre à investir dans la restauration et la gestion durable des aires marines et côtières d'intérêt écologique, dont les capacités de stockage du carbone sont importantes de par leur richesse en zones de mangroves et d'herbiers. Enfin, la création toute récente d'une délégation générale de lutte contre la pauvreté et l'exclusion rattachée à la présidence de la République, devrait contribuer à renforcer la résilience des populations vulnérables au changement climatique. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, la COP25 qui s'inscrit sous le sceau de l'action pour la mise en œuvre de l'accord de Paris doit être le moment de franchir un nouveau cap en faveur de la transition écologique. Pour cela, et afin d'équilibrer le fardeau global de la lutte contre le changement climatique, les pays développés doivent prendre des engagements plus ambitieux en termes de réduction des émissions de gaz à effet de serre, mais aussi en termes de financement, de transfert technologique, de partage des connaissances et de renforcement des capacités, afin de soutenir la mise en œuvre des contributions nationales et des plans d'adaptation dans les pays en développement. Nous avons aussi besoin de renforcer les cadres de coopération à l'échelle internationale, régionale et nationale pour promouvoir le partage et la diffusion des expériences réussies et soutenir la recherche et l'innovation qui sont fondamentales pour éclairer les politiques et les solutions d'adaptation. Mon pays, quant à lui, demeure résolument engagé à accompagner la dynamique globale de lutte contre le changement climatique à travers la révision en 2020 de sa contribution nationale au titre de l'accord de Paris. Nous prévoyons ainsi de porter la part des énergies renouvelables dans le mix énergétique à 60% en 2030 et de mettre en œuvre un nouveau programme national intégré de reboisement. Pour conclure, Mesdames et Messieurs, je voudrais dire que dans cette entreprise collective qui nous réunit aujourd'hui, chacun doit jouer pleinement son rôle au regard de sa responsabilité climatique et dans un esprit d'équité, de solidarité et de partenariat dans l'intérêt des générations présentes et futures. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you, Your Excellency. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Ola Elvestuen, Minister of Climate and Environment of Norway. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Mr. President, Indigenous Peoples delegations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. In one way, the last year has been encouraging. Youth mobilization for climate is loud and clear. Last week, 500,000 were demonstrating in the streets of Madrid. The young school strikers build on science, and so must we. And science tells us two important stories. The world is getting warmer, the weather more extreme, and biodiversity is lost at a scale never seen before. But science also tells us that we still can change the course. But to do that, we must act now, by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, restoring nature, and turning financial flows from brown to green. And we must recognize that climate action is an opportunity for better and more inclusive growth. Through a green transition, we can save money and resources, improve people's health and livelihoods, and build a better future. To help in this transition, we need to look to nature. We need more, not less nature. Tropical forests are where the climate, nature, and biodiversity issues come to life. Protecting them is our best nature-based solution. Protecting our oceans is crucial. Better ocean and coastal management can build climate resilience, help food security, protect against flooding and extreme events, safeguard livelihoods, and preserve natural carbon sinks. Many countries have pledged stronger climate targets under the Paris Agreement, including Norway. However, we are still waiting for some of the bigger emitters. We will not reach the 1.5 degrees target without these countries on board. Cooperation between countries can help us raise ambition. Article 6 is a tool to achieve more emission reductions and help us finance low-carbon solutions. We need a robust framework with high environmental integrity and no room for emission reduction to be used twice. We also need a robust transparency framework. And I regret that we could not make progress on this important matter here at the COP. Already, millions of people are put at risk because of the changing climate. Adaptation efforts must therefore go hand in hand with mitigation measures, and nature-based solutions give the best examples of that. No one must be left behind on the road to a climate-resilient and low-emission country. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Tusen takk. It is now my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Maria Patek, Minister of Sustainability and Tourism of Austria. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege and an honor for me to address you at this important conference. Let me at the outset commend the Republic of Chile for successfully presiding over this anniversary of the Conference of the Parties on the UNFCCC. Chile and Spain have truly demonstrated leadership by facilitating this important global dialogue at a critical time. In the past 25 years, we witnessed ups and downs in our climate negotiations. As we enter 2020, we need to focus our energies on transformative actions that will help us to achieve our goals. In Paris, we all committed to follow a pathway towards net zero greenhouse gas emissions, as well as a climate-resilient development. This pathway demands a global energy transition and rapid decarbonization. The future belongs to renewable energies and energy efficiency. An ambitious and forward-looking climate and energy policy must lead to a fundamental transformation of our global energy system. A holistic and integrative approach is needed, and a focus on solutions across sectors. For instance, sector coupling in areas such as buildings and transport will be an important cornerstone. Mr. President, climate action is the main priority for the Austrian government. We adopted an ambitious climate and energy strategy in 2018, and Austria is a frontrunner with regard to renewable energies. Our aim is to cover 100% of our total electricity consumption from renewable energy sources by 2030. Austria is also very active in the areas of adaptation to climate change and increasing resilience. The extreme weather events a few weeks ago and its damage to infrastructure in the southern parts of Austria clearly underline the importance of adaptation measures as a second pillar of climate policies. Turning back to the necessary transformation of the energy system, the development of new and innovative energy technologies, especially in the field of storage, is key. In Austria, we want to be a frontrunner in innovation and technology and become innovation leaders in the field of renewable green hydrogen. And we already see important industry players making investment decisions in sustainable hydrogen. Mr. President, succeeding in the fight against climate change will require ambitious efforts of all countries and stakeholders. The necessary energy transition will not be an easy task. It will require constant global dialogue. In this context, I would like to refer to the 7th Vienna Energy Forum, which will take place mid of June 2020 in Vienna. This forum will be another opportunity to discuss and tackle issues facing the global energy community. We need to leave Madrid with a robust and comprehensive set of rules on voluntary cooperation that foster global ambition, avoid double counting, and ensure environmental integrity. We want a market mechanism that supports ambition, not one that undermines it. Austria also recognizes the challenges that increasing climate change risks pose to the most vulnerable communities. We are sure that a successfully reviewed loss and damage mechanism will continue to provide a framework for all parties to participate, contribute and cooperate for strengthening the national and global actions to avert, minimize and address loss and damage. Let us, above all, give the signal to the world that we care about our climate. It is time for action. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Mary Goretti Kitutu, Minister of Environment of Uganda. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Excellency, the President for the COP, UNFCCC Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Madam President, let me begin by expressing my sincere gratitude for the hospitality extended to my delegation and I by the government of Chile and Spain. Uganda associates herself with the statements delivered by Bhutan on behalf of the least developed countries, Egypt on behalf of the African group, and Palestine on behalf of G77 plus China. Madam President, the latest IPCC reports on 1.5 degrees Celsius climate change and land and the ocean and cryosphere stress the global warming is increasing the severity of drought, soil erosion, and wildfires, and it is diminishing crop yields in the tropics and thawing permafrost near the poles. Extreme sea level events that used to occur once every 100 years will occur at least once a year in many regions around the world by 2050. To this end, Uganda is of no exception because we have continuously witnessed the extreme weather events such as landslides and floods. In other ecosystems, drought is escalating, leading to frequent bouts of famine. These experiences of both the extreme and the slow onset climate impacts are increasingly eroding the natural ecosystem services that society has been endowed with from generation to generation. Madam President, we come to Madrid with hope and determination to engage constructively in the current negotiations towards a desired outcome and a desire to transform conceptual discussions and technical work to real concrete and implementable actions to avoid the severity of events as proffered to in the Special 1.5 report. In contrast, we see various sticky issues that will undermine our effort in coming up with successful outcome in Madrid. Madam President, under your able leadership and guidance, Uganda looks forward to a favorable and balanced outcome of these elements, with a main focus on implementation, procedure or otherwise, to foster implementation of concrete actions on the ground. In this regard, the following decisions are critical to us. Raising ambition. Raising ambition is critical, and I applaud you, Madam President, for all the effort that will limit temperature rise to well below 2 degrees centigrade. The best available science tells us that greenhouse gas emissions need to peak by 2020 and decline thereafter. This will be more practical if nature-based solutions that contribute 30% of the global climate solution receive considerable attention at this scope. Finance. It is critical that climate finance remains high on the agenda on this scope. As a country, we have a tireless effort to progressively implementing our NDC with a costed NDC implementation plan already in place. The immediate NDC actions have been elaborated and incrementally being implemented, albeit with changes of access to means of implementation. The government of Uganda has also estimated its finance needs for implementation of the National Climate Change Policy and the NDC contributions, estimated approximately $6 billion. On adaptation, finance so far, the country has formulated and defined strategic investment plans to build resilience and enhance adaptation. Madam President, The Warsaw International Mechanism of Loss and Damage associated with climate change impacts was established under UNFCCC to promote the implementation of approaches to address loss and damage. To this end, consideration of loss and damage is critical, and therefore the need to finalize the WIM. On markets, we welcome the significant progress made over the years on all major issues related to Article 6. However, as we finalize the rules for markets and non-market mechanism, we call the need to maintain environmental integrity, ensure adaptation mechanisms are an integral part of Article 6, and move beyond pure offsetting of emissions and deliver overall mitigation in a global emission, avoid double counting, not allow the carryover of pre-2020 Kyoto units to the Paris Agreement or other accounting loopholes, and deliver a share of proceeds from the market mechanism for adaptation fund. Madam President, that notwithstanding, my delegation looks forward to seeing a balanced treatment of the mitigation and adaptation issues in the draft decisions and conclusions to be proposed in Madrid. Finally, I would like to assure you of Uganda's commitment to working closely with the presidency and the Chile government during the remaining days of this conference to ensure a successful and balanced outcome in this scope. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now it's my great pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Svenja Schulze, Minister of Environment, Nature Conservation and Nuclear Safety of Germany. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
President, Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, my sincere thanks to the Spanish government. The fact that we are able to be here today is not just an impressive logistical achievement, it is also a sign of multilateral solidarity. And my thanks also to the Chilean government for the leadership it is showing in its national climate policy and as president of this COP. Et tiempo de actuar, it's time to act. That is the heading for this COP. The German government has made 2019 the year for taking action in the field of climate change mitigation. In October, we adopted the Climate Action Programme 2030. This program will ensure we reach our climate targets by 2030 to reduce our emissions by 55% compared to 1990 and puts Germany on course to become climate neutral by 2050. Our Climate Change Act ensures that in future every sector will make a proper contribution to climate action by setting out legally binding year-specific sector targets and ensures that immediate corrective action is taken if necessary. Our Climate Action Programme is an extensive program for innovation, for investment and modernization. We are putting 45 billion euros into making climate-friendly practices cheaper and more attractive. Climate-damaging practices will be made more expensive, for instance, through a comprehensive carbon pricing system. And we have set out a clear timetable for the phase-out of coal-based power and are simultaneously supporting the regions affected with extensive structural measures and expanding renewable energies. With this climate package, Germany is laying the right foundation for climate action. Next year, all countries are called on to show more courage when it comes to climate action, to update their NDC, to increase them and outline how they will become climate neutral. Some developing countries are already setting a good example here. It is high time that the major economies do the same. And that is why the EU is discussing enhancing its NDC for 2030. I will work to ensure Germany is among those driving the discussion. The EU has to lead by example. At this COP, the German government is therefore advocating robust international market mechanisms. These could help bring about additional climate action if it can be ensured that reductions are verified and double counting is avoided. And that is why Germany supports developing countries in climate action. We are doubling our contribution to the Green Climate Fund to 1.5 billion euros and doubling our climate finance contribution in 2020 to 4 billion euros compared to 2014. This paved the way for more courage climate action in the phase-out of coal in Southeast Asia, in the just transition in South Africa, in dealing with refrigerants in Namibia and many other places. We are already supporting 21 countries in updating their NDCs. Germany will also provide an additional 60 million euros to finance ecosystem-based approaches to climate change adaptation, especially in small island states. And we will contribute an additional 30 million euros to the Adaptation Fund. The IPCC is warning us more urgently than ever that the fight against climate change, every tenth of degree and every ton of carbon dioxide saved makes a difference and prevents further damages and loss. I'm here to call for more courage, climate action, and for integrity in the formulation of its rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now it's my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Varavut Silpa Archa, Minister of Natural Resources and Environment of Thailand. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Sawasdee krap. First of all, I'd like to convey Thailand's solidarity and support for the government of Chile during this difficult time. We do certainly hope to see the peaceful resolution at the earliest opportunity. Moreover, I'd like to commend the government of the Kingdom of Spain and the people of Madrid for their warm and generous hospitality for hosting this COP. We assure you of our full support to deliver successful COP25 outcomes. Mr. President, recognizing the unprecedented and growing impacts of climate change, the Royal Thai government has integrated for the first time climate change into all development agendas. For the pre-2020, we have successfully achieved a 14% greenhouse gas emission reduction in 2017 in energy and transport sectors. This doubles the amount of our unconditional NAMA pledge of 7% compared to BAU. To enhance our post-2020 action, we are strengthening our system, building our capacity, and putting in place necessary NDC mitigation and adaptation architectures to align our academic actions with the Paris Agreement's goal. For instance, we are formulating Thailand's first Climate Change Act and the long-term low greenhouse gas emission development strategies. We are now in the process of improving our financial landscape through enhancing the capacity of our existing environmental fund to leverage climate finance to local authorities and private sectors. We also aim at energizing climate change actions with other pressing environmental issues, such as biodiversity conservation and reduction of short-lived climate pollutants and marine plastic pollution. Distinguished delegates, Mr. President, as a chair of ASEAN in 2019, Thailand has tirelessly worked to strengthen the role of ASEAN in climate change through the adoption of ASEAN Joint Statement to the United Nations Climate Action Summit held earlier in September and to the UNFCCC COP25 here today. Our highlighted actions included a 21.9% reduction in ASEAN energy intensity in 2016 compared to 2005 level, which is way ahead of its 2020 target. We also reiterate the adequate supports for developing countries as stipulated under UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement is a key to enable real transformative action and to raise ambition. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Thailand remains profoundly committed to our pledge in the multilateral processes. A wise man once said, we did not inherit this earth from our parents or ancestors. We merely borrow it from our children, from our grandchildren, and from our great-grandchildren. Thus, Thailand shall work in the spirit of solidarity with all parties to protect our climate for the future of our planet and our future generations. Thank you very much. Khop kun krap.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now it's my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Abdulaziz bin Turki Al Subaya, Minister of Municipality and Environment of Qatar. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
أصحاب الفخامة والمعالي والسعادة، سيد الرئيس، السيدات والسادة، الحضور الكرام المشاركون في هذا المؤتمر، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسرني في البداية أن أغتنم هذه الفرصة لأعرب عن شكري وتقديري لكل من جمهورية تشيلي ومملكة أسبانيا على جهودهما لتنظيم هذا المؤتمر. السيدات والسادة، الحضور الكرام، لقد أصبح المجتمع الدولي أكثر وعياً بمخاطر ظاهرة التغير المناخي والتي تعد من أكبر تحديات هذا العصر بالنظر إلى أبعادها الاقتصادية والبيئية والاجتماعية وما تلقيه من أعباء وآثار، وخصوصاً على الدول النامية والتي تعتبر الأكثر تضرراً من الآثار المباشرة لظاهرة التغير المناخي والتداعيات والآثار السلبية المترتبة على إجراءات الدول للتعامل مع هذه الظاهرة. السيدات والسادة، الحضور الكرام، ضمن إطار السعي لتحقيق رؤية قطر الوطنية 2030 والتي تناولت دعم جهود المجتمع الدولي لمواجهة ظاهرة التغير المناخي، فقد استضافت دولة قطر في عام 2012 الدورة 18 لمؤتمر الدول الأطراف في اتفاقية الأمم المتحدة بشأن تغير المناخ، كما أن دولة قطر عضو مؤسس في المعهد العالمي للنمو الأخضر والذي يشارك في مساعدة البلدان النامية على اتباع استراتيجيات تنموية مبنية على أسس الاستدامة، حيث تعد التنمية البيئية أحد ركائز رؤية قطر الوطنية 2030 الأربع التي تسعى إلى دعم مسارات التنمية المتسقة مع متطلبات حماية البيئة. وقد اتخذت دولة قطر العديد من الإجراءات لتطوير الممارسات المراعية للاعتبارات البيئية ولتغير المناخ، وكتبني مشاريع تعزز استخدام الطاقة النظيفة والمشاريع التي من شأنها تعزز كفاءة استخدام الغاز الطبيعي والطاقة وإعادة تدوير المخلفات وزيادة المساحات الخضراء. ويمثل إطلاق دولة قطر مشروع إنشاء محطة للطاقة الشمسية خطوة مهمة في طريق تنويع مصادر إنتاج دولة قطر من الطاقة الكهربائية وزيادة الاعتماد على مصادر الطاقة المتجددة. كما يعد إطلاق مشروع تشغيل الحافلات الكهربائية ومشروع استخدام الغاز الطبيعي المضغوط كوقود بديل في قطاع النقل، وخاصة في تطبيقات النقل العام في دولة قطر، تعزيزاً للنقل المستدام في الدولة بما يحقق التكامل مع مشروع مترو الدوحة، وذلك في إطار الجهود المبذولة لخفض الانبعاثات من وسائل النقل. السيد الرئيس، الحضور الكرام، إن مواجهة آثار التغير المناخي تتطلب تضافر جميع الجهود الممكنة بما يتماشى مع مبادئ اتفاقية الأمم المتحدة، وفي إطار حرص دولة قطر على القيام بدورها كشريك فاعل مع المجتمع الدولي. فقد أعلن حضرة صاحب السمو الشيخ تميم بن حمد آل ثاني أمير البلاد المفدى حفظه الله ورعاه خلال قمة العمل المناخي في نيويورك في سبتمبر الماضي عن مساهمة دولة قطر بمبلغ 100 مليون دولار لدعم الدول الجزرية الصغيرة النامية والدول الأقل نمواً للتعامل مع تغير المناخ والمخاطر الطبيعية والتحديات البيئية وبناء القدرات اللازمة لمواجهة آثار التغير المناخي. السيدات والسادة، الحضور الكرام، في سياق اهتمام دولة قطر الكبير بالتصدي لظاهرة التغير المناخي، فقد تم تنفيذ العديد من المشاريع والمبادرات التي تساهم في الجهود المبذولة لخفض الانبعاثات، كالمشاريع التي من شأنها تعزز التنمية النظيفة التي توائم بين عوامل التنمية الاقتصادية لدولة قطر والتنمية البيئية. وقد أطلقنا مؤخرا مبادرة مليون شجرة كمبادرة اجتماعية في تعزيز الاستدامة البيئية، وما تحمله هذه المبادرة من فوائد تتمثل في التكيف مع الآثار المتوقعة لظاهرة التغير المناخي وخفض الانبعاثات وتحسين جودة الهواء. وفي الختام نكرر شكرنا وتقديرنا للمنظمين والقائمين على هذا المؤتمر وللأمانة التنفيذية لاتفاقية التغير المناخي، متمنيا لهذا المؤتمر التوفيق والنجاح، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Guro Mundur Ingi Gudbrandsson, Minister of the Environment and Natural Resources of Iceland. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. When I was a child, my grandmother taught me the names of all 4 glaciers visible from our farm in Iceland. Now, only 3 are remaining. These are visible changes. Then there are invisible changes. We sometimes talk about leaving our comfort zone. The impacts of 1 degree warming are already challenging in many parts of the world, but it's just a prelude of things to come. We are indeed leaving our climatic comfort zone. I ask you to think about the following. If our actions can put us in harm's way, then other actions can move us away from danger. We humans are capable of amazing achievements. We must tackle climate crisis with can-do attitude. Time for action. First, we need to cut emissions immediately. Second, we need long-term strategies and carbon neutrality. And third, we need net negative emissions to follow. We need to scale up successful actions. A clean energy revolution is at the center of our global task. Iceland is blessed with renewable resources. We are almost emission-free when it comes to heating and electricity production. Iceland's 3rd renewable revolution centers on the transport system. Tax incentives encourage people to buy clean cars. The government supports infrastructure for clean energy. New registration for fossil fuel cars will be prohibited in 2030, and people have responded. Iceland now has the world's 2nd highest share of electric cars in total vehicle sales. This is happening right now. Real actions, climate policies can work. Ladies and gentlemen, more efforts are needed. Agriculture, shipping, and heavy industries are a case in point. Icelandic innovators have designed ships running on climate-friendly energy sources. Icelandic scientists have developed a method which mineralizes CO2 from concentrated emission streams, basically turning CO2 into stone deep under the Earth's surface. Long-term strategies and well-designed policies are needed here to scale up plausible solutions. Iceland aims for carbon neutrality by 2040. At the center of long-term strategies and carbon neutrality lies sustainable land use and nature-based solutions. Iceland has significantly stepped up actions in afforestation, revegetation, and restoration of drained wetlands. This is a win-win strategy. Synergies. We are strengthening biodiversity and creating jobs in rural areas, as well as moving carbon from the atmosphere to the soils. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Iceland has developed 39 indicators to track the progress of the well-being economy. Economic, environmental, and social factors will be evaluated. The starting point is building these factors into the next 5-year fiscal policy statement. We continue to see more growth, more consumption, more everything. We, however, cannot satisfy unchecked human greed. We need to focus on well-being ahead of consumption, improved values to run our societies. The well-being economy will demand a new type of thinking and redefining priorities. Tackling the climate crisis is a priority for the well-being of future generations and calls for action now.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Batio Bassier, Minister of Environment, Green Economy and Climate Change of Burkina Faso. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Madame la Présidente de la COP 25, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs, il me plaît à l'entame de mon propos de vous transmettre les salutations les plus chaleureuses de Son Excellence Roch Marc Christian Kaboré, président du Faso. qu'il me soit également permis d'adresser en son nom mes vives félicitations à la République du Chili pour son élection à la présidence de la COP25 et au gouvernement du Royaume d'Espagne pour avoir fait montre de solidarité internationale en accueillant la COP25. Je voudrais également adresser les sincères remerciements de la délégation du Burkina Faso au peuple espagnol pour l'accueil et l'hospitalité dont elle a bénéficié depuis notre arrivée. Mesdames et messieurs, depuis plus de 25 ans, la question du changement climatique occupe une place importante dans l'agenda international. L'intensité et la fréquence des phénomènes climatiques extrêmes, sécheresse et inondations s'accentuent d'année en année. Cependant, force est de constater que les efforts déployés au niveau mondial pour faire face à ces phénomènes demeurent insuffisants. Plus inquiétant, les études scientifiques du groupe d'experts intergouvernemental sur l'évolution du climat le démontrent encore clairement. Nous ne disposons plus d'assez de temps pour passer à l'action et inverser la tendance. Mesdames et messieurs, un grand penseur de mon pays, le président Thomas Sankara, disait ceci: la maladie ne se guérit pas en prononçant le nom du médicament, mais en prenant bien sûr le médicament. Notre planète est malade et l'accord de Paris, plus particulièrement le paquet de Katowice, en est le médicament. Et comme tout bon médicament, son efficacité se mesure à travers le respect de la prescription. À ce propos, il s'agira particulièrement de renforcer les capacités d'adaptation des pays les moins avancés aux effets néfastes des changements climatiques, rendre effectifs les flux financiers vers le Fonds vert climat, leur accessibilité à travers des processus accélérés d'approbation, leur compatibilité avec un profil d'évolution vers un développement de faibles émissions à gaz à effet de serre et résilient au changement climatique, et enfin, relever les niveaux d'ambition des contributions déterminées nationales, surtout au niveau des pays développés. Mesdames et messieurs, en notre qualité de vice-président de la Conférence ministérielle africaine de l'environnement et de vice-président du bureau de l'Assemblée nationale des Nations unies pour l'environnement au titre de la région de l'Afrique, je voulais rappeler que l'Afrique demeure le continent le plus vulnérable au changement climatique selon les récentes estimations des scientifiques. C'est pourquoi il est logique que ce continent reçoive un soutien approprié, notamment concernant ses besoins en matière d'adaptation et les coûts associés. La lutte contre les changements climatiques ne devrait pas non plus entraîner un accroissement de la dette des pays africains. C'est à ce prix que l'accord de Paris connaîtra une réelle mise en application. Mesdames et messieurs, il est important de concevoir des politiques et des mesures capables d'accomplir les objectifs climatiques parallèlement à d'autres objectifs importants que sont l'amélioration de l'accès à l'énergie propre, la réduction et la pollution de l'air, la préservation de la biodiversité ainsi que la sécurité. Le Burkina Faso est donc dans cette dynamique à travers le leadership affirmé du chef de l'État qui, par ailleurs, désigne champion de la croissance verte par l'Institut mondial pour la croissance verte. Les engagements ambitieux reflétés dans le plan national d'adaptation des changements climatiques du Burkina et la contribution déterminée nationale illustrent parfaitement cela. Je citerai l'installation de centrales solaires photovoltaïques et de plus de 40 000 biodigesteurs d'ici 2024. La promotion des investissements en faveur de la réduction des émissions dues à la déforestation et à la dégradation des forêts, la création d'éco-villages, la récupération de 5 millions d'hectares de terres dégradées, l'institutionnalisation d'une journée nationale de l'arbre pour susciter une mobilisation consciente et engagée des communautés pour l'action. Madame la Présidente, Mesdames et Messieurs, pour être crédibles et cohérents envers nous, nous devrons adopter des décisions courageuses à Madrid. Oui, des décisions qui permettront de réajuster dans les échéances convenues la trajectoire de nos émissions de gaz à effet de serre vers l'objectif de 2 degrés, voire 1 degré Celsius. Gardons à l'esprit que nous ne sommes plus maîtres du temps. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Excellence. It is my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Fabiola Munoz, Minister of Environment of Peru. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Señor Presidente, quiero felicitar y agradecer a Chile y España por su liderazgo en esta COP de la ambición climática. El tiempo de actuar es ahora, pero demostrando acciones concretas de compromiso con el planeta. Debemos afrontar juntos, gobiernos, jóvenes, pueblos indígenas, sector privado y sociedad civil, el desafío más importante de las presentes y futuras generaciones, la sobrevivencia. Hoy millones de voces nos exigen decisión. Tenemos que incrementar nuestro sentido de urgencia y nuestra ambición ante una realidad que requiere soluciones innovadoras y ambiciosas. Muchos jóvenes y adultos estamos comprometidos, es hora de trabajar juntos y convencer a los que no lo están. No existe esfuerzo pequeño, todo cuenta. Todas y todos estamos llamados a la acción. Perú está iniciando un proceso para mejorar nuestras NDCs, aspirando a aumentar nuestra ambición climática y alcanzar la neutralización en la primera mitad del siglo. Nos proponemos contar hacia 2020 con un plan nacional de adaptación y un registro de medidas de mitigación, y junto a Colombia y otros hermanos países amazónicos hemos anunciado la puesta en marcha del plan de acción del Pacto de Leticia por la Amazonía. Esta no puede ser solo una COP más. Gracias por añadir a la agenda verde la agenda azul. Pero debemos ser aún más ambiciosos. Esta debe ser la COP de la inclusión. Los jóvenes y los pueblos indígenas necesitan y nos piden ser parte activa de este cambio. Desde Perú contribuimos mostrando al mundo dialoguemos. Un modelo de diálogo multisectorial, multinivel y multiactor, que nos ha permitido recorrer el país involucrando y haciendo partícipes activos de la acción climática a los pueblos indígenas, gobiernos regionales y locales, sector privado, academia, sociedad civil y jóvenes. Hemos ido aún más allá de Talanoa y lo hacemos porque el cambio climático tiene rostro humano. Necesitamos sociedades más justas y equitativas. Reconocemos los derechos colectivos y la cosmovisión de los pueblos indígenas y las plasmaremos en la plataforma climática indígena, en sintonía con el Acuerdo de París. Reglamentar la ley marco sobre cambio climático ha marcado la inclusión de los enfoques de género, interculturalidad e intergeneracional. Hemos aprendido el valor de involucrar activamente a los pueblos indígenas y a los gobiernos regionales. Hoy, en la sala, me acompañan la señora Lourdes Huanca, mujer y líder indígena del Perú, y el señor Luis Hidalgo, gobernador regional amazónico. Desde el Perú queremos presentar al mundo dos hitos emblemáticos para la gestión integral del cambio climático en nuestro país. Uno, nuestro aporte a la COP Verde, Huella de Carbono Perú. Estamos involucrando activamente al sector privado. Sin ellos no podemos alcanzar la meta. Hemos lanzado la plataforma Huella de Carbono Perú, donde promovemos y reconocemos el esfuerzo del sector privado por medir, reducir y compensar sus emisiones. Y segundo, nuestro aporte a la COP Azul, la campaña Promesas en Plástico. Reducimos el consumo del plástico de un solo uso para proteger el océano. Esta COP25 no es solo verde, es también azul. En Perú, los jóvenes están generando el cambio de patrones de consumo y junto al sector privado decidimos apostar por el cambio de patrones de producción. Avanzamos hacia una economía circular. Esta bolsa plástica fue recogida en el Océano Pacífico y tardará 400 años en degradarse. El presidente del Perú, Martín Vizcarra y todo el Consejo de Ministros hemos manifestado con nuestra firma el impostergable cumplimiento de nuestro compromiso con el planeta y las generaciones futuras. Estas promesas en plástico están en la COP25 en Madrid e invitamos a todos los líderes globales a que las firmen y unidos nos sumemos al cambio. Si tenemos éxito, las futuras generaciones tendrán testimonio de lo que hicimos. Hace un año, en el Perú, aprobamos la ley que regula el plástico de un solo uso. Y hace casi 2 años, la Ley Marco sobre Cambio Climático. Juntos demostramos que los cambios son posibles si nos comprometemos todos y todas. Es tiempo de actuar. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Masagos Zulkifli, Minister for the Environment and Water Resources of Singapore. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Mr. President, we are meeting at a time when multilateralism is under strain. We all have to work together to strengthen the support for multilateral cooperative frameworks to address the existential challenge of climate change. Like all small island states, Singapore is vulnerable to the effects of global warming. We strongly echo the call by many for action and collaboration. I have 4 suggestions on how we can strengthen the multilateral system of climate action. First, we need to faithfully implement our Paris commitments. Under the Paris agreements, we need to update our 2030 NDCs and communicate long-term low-emission development strategies by 2020. Singapore will play our part, and we'll update our NDC and communicate our long-term low-emission strategy soon. We'll also work with others to support the efforts of developing countries. Second, we need to complete the Paris Agreement work program. Article 6 is the last remaining piece to complete the rulebook. It's imperative that we adopt a credible, clear, and coherent set of rules to govern the effective use of international carbon credits to deliver higher ambition while ensuring environmental integrity. Paris Agreement requires a new paradigm around accounting for underlying emission reductions that are transferred internationally. And we should have clarity on how the concept of corresponding adjustments is operationalized. Third, we need effective action at the national level across all sectors and stakeholders. Singapore has implemented an economy-wide carbon tax as part of our mitigation strategy. Revenue will be used to fund emission reduction projects and help businesses overcome their resource and energy constraints. As we have limited access to alternative sources of energy, we will leverage long-term planning, innovation, and international cooperation to mitigate our emissions. This includes the adoption of a zero-waste master plan and a Resource Sustainability Act to build a circular economy, which will help to reduce our carbon footprint and complement our efforts to address climate change. We thank the Chilean presidency for giving focus to 4 key areas: energy, transport, agriculture, and finance. Details on how Singapore is driving action in these sectors can be found in our uploaded national statements. And lastly, fourth, we need to strengthen our solidarity in the fight against climate change. We support a strong outcome on the review of the Warsaw International Mechanism to better support our efforts to minimize, avert, and address loss and damage. Singapore is doing our part through the Southeast Asia Disaster Risk Insurance Facility to enhance pre-disaster planning. Singapore government will also put in place incentives and facilitate capacity development to ease the transition, build a climate-resilient economy, and allow our workforce to adapt to a low-carbon future. To succeed in our efforts in climate change, we need to work hand-in-hand with youth, businesses, and civil organizations to co-create and co-deliver solutions. We are committed to collectively deliver a better and more sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Murat Kurum, Minister of Environment and Urbanisation. Oh, my apologies. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Sheikh Abdullah Ahmad Asalaba, Minister, Chairman and Director General of Kuwait Environment Public Authority. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
سيد الرئيس، الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. في البداية أود أن أعرب عن شكري وتقديري لمملكة أسبانيا الصديقة على استضافة مؤتمر الأطراف الخامس والعشرين، وكذلك شكري وتقديري لجمهورية تشيلي لرئاسة هذا المؤتمر. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، السيدات والسادة، يأتي مؤتمر الأطراف الخامس والعشرين استكمالا للنجاح الذي حققه مؤتمر كاتوفيستا في العام الماضي باعتماد الجزء الأول من المنهجيات الخاصة بعناصر اتفاق باريس، وهو ما يعكس إيمان المجتمع الدولي على ضرورة مكافحة هذه الظاهرة وآثارها السلبية على النظم البشرية والطبيعية. فما يحدث في العالم اليوم من كوارث طبيعية يحتم علينا بذل جهود دولية أكبر لمواجهة ظاهرة تغير المناخ والإسراع في اتخاذ قرارات مناسبة وقابلة للتطبيق لحماية الشعوب والدول ذات الهشاشة من مخاطر تغير المناخ العالمي. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، السيدات والسادة، إن دولة الكويت قد تم تصنيفها من قبل منظمة الأرصاد العالمية في تقريرها الصادر في يونيو 2019 كأعلى درجة حرارة على كوكب الأرض خلال ال70 عاماً الماضية، وذلك بعد أن سجلت 53 درجة 0.9 درجة سيليزية في يوليو 2016. كما أن دولة الكويت بدأت تعاني من التطرف في أحوال الطقس، فما سببته الأمطار الموسمية في نوفمبر الماضي من فيضانات أدت إلى الخسائر في الأرواح والممتلكات. كما أن دولة الكويت تعاني من العواصف الرملية والغبارية على مدار العام، مما أثر بشكل سلبي على النواحي البيئية والصحية والاقتصادية. ومع ما تعانيه دولة الكويت من آثار تغير المناخ، إلا أنها تسعى حسب الظروف الوطنية والإمكانات المتاحة بإقامة مشاريع طموحة تشارك بها المجتمع الدولي للحد من انبعاثات غازات الدفيئة، والتي تعكس رؤية سيدي حضرة صاحب السمو أمير البلاد المفدى باستخدام الطاقات البديلة والمتجددة بما يعادل 15% من إجمالي الطاقة المنتجة بالدولة بحلول عام 2030، بالإضافة إلى إنشاء مصفاة جديدة صديقة للبيئة وتحديث وتطوير المنشآت النفطية القائمة للحد من الانبعاثات تماشياً مع الالتزامات البيئية محلياً وإقليمياً ودولياً. وفي الختام أكرر شكري وتقديري لمملكة أسبانيا حكومة وشعباً على استضافة المؤتمر، راجياً التوفيق والنجاح لحكومة جمهورية تشيلي، آملاً أن يتوج هذا المؤتمر بقرارات ونتائج قابلة للتطبيق وترضي جميع الشعوب. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mangaliso Ndulova, Minister of Environment, Climate, Tourism and Hospitality Industry of Zimbabwe. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you. The Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Minister of Environment of Chile and President of COP25, honorable ministers present here, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The Republic of Zimbabwe presents its compliments to you all at this important conference of parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. I also wish to thank and congratulate the governments of Chile and Spain for delivering such a remarkable COP25. Excellencies, climate change is a real threat to sustainable socio-economic development in Zimbabwe and all countries alike. Droughts and floods, which have been alternating year in, year out, and have been experienced in the last 2 decades, have resulted in negative socio-economic impacts and food insecurity in my country. This year alone, Southern Africa was ravaged by a devastating cyclone Idai, which left thousands dead, injured or displaced, with a trail of infrastructure destruction in parts of my country, Zimbabwe, parts of Mozambique and Malawi. This clearly demonstrates our high level of vulnerability. As I speak, we are still trying to recover from the disaster, and the cost of reconstruction and recovery is estimated to be about $600 million, according to the World Bank and my government's rapid impacts and needs assessment. Impacts of climate change are also observed through significant reductions in agricultural production due to droughts and extended mid-season dry spells. This is negatively affecting economic growth, as the agriculture sector contributes between 15 and 20% of my country's GDP and contributes close to 60% of the industry's raw materials. The current trend of increased droughts and dry spells has affected runoff and river flow, thereby affecting hydropower generation. Hydropower generation capacity is seriously constrained, leading to over-reliance on coal-fired electricity generation units, and this is far from ideal. The tourism sector has not been spared from the climate change impacts, as observed by increasing wildlife mortality due to reduced habitat, feedstock, and water availability. However, the Victoria Falls has not been as much affected due to its expansive catchment. Hence, water is still flowing across the falls all year round, contrary to misinformation by some sections of the media. Dear ministers and colleagues, the situation we find ourselves in calls for urgent transformation actions across all sectors in order to adequately respond to the changing climate. The Republic of Zimbabwe committed to a 33% per capita energy sector emission reductions target below the projected business as usual emissions scenario by 2030. This target is envisaged to meet through renewable energy utilization, energy efficiency, and climate-smart agriculture interventions. The success of this commitment is, however, dependent on the provision of means of implementation, finance, technology development, and the necessary skills transfer. Following Zimbabwe's ratification of the Paris Agreement, we have developed the National Determined Contributions Implementation Framework for the energy sector. Further, as required by the Paris Agreement, Zimbabwe is finalizing its economy-wide low emissions development strategy with mid-century mitigation projections, which will be communicated in 2020 and will inform future NDC commitments. Currently, Zimbabwe is implementing 2 Green Climate Fund readiness programs on National Adaptation Plan and National Designated Authority Readiness. The 2 projects are expected to deliver a comprehensive national adaptation plan for climate change, integrate climate change into national and sectoral development plans, and strengthen national security capacity to access climate financial resources, as well as implement climate change mitigation and adaptation projects. Furthermore, the country has commenced the development of a legislative framework for climate change and consultations on a bill which include a national financing mechanism are ongoing. The bill will have explicit provisions for emission reductions, measurement, reporting, and verification of efforts and climate change adaptation. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish to thank this conference for a well articulated issue on climate change. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now it's my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Murat Kurum, Minister of Environment and Urbanization of Turkey. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Sayın Başkan, değerli bakanlar, kıymetli katılımcılar, sizleri en içten duygularımla saygı ve sevgiyle selamlıyorum. Şili hükümetine 25. Taraflar Konferansı'ndaki emeklerinden dolayı takdirlerimi sunuyorum. Yine İspanya hükümetimize de ev sahipliğinden ötürü teşekkürlerimi sunuyorum. Değerli katılımcılar, iklim değişikliği bugünün problemidir ve dünyamızın ve çocuklarımızın geleceğini tehdit etmektedir. İşte bu nedenle 25. Taraflar Konferansı'nın harekete geçme zamanı sloganı oldukça anlamlıdır. Küresel ısınmanın, deniz suyuların seviyesinin yükselmesinin, biyolojik çeşitliliğin ve gıda güvenliğinin tehdit altında olması karşısında hareketsiz kalamayız. Bu nedenle iklim değişikliğiyle mücadele etmek için bütün paydaşların seferber olması gerektiğine inanıyoruz. Ülkemiz ulusal koşulları ışığında iklim değişikliğiyle mücadelede attığı somut adımlarla eyleme geçme konusundaki kararlılığını her zaman göstermektedir. Ülke olarak yenilenebilir enerji ve enerji verimliliği konularında önemli ilerlemeler kaydettik. 2015'ten günümüze yenilenebilir enerji kaynaklarında kurulu gücümüz %37 artış göstermiştir. 2016 döneminde kümülatif olarak 42,5 milyon ton eşdeğer petrol miktarında enerji tasarrufu sağladık. Ulusal enerji verimliliği eylem planımızı 55 eylemle enerji verimliliğini arttırmak için yol haritalarını belirledik. Bu çalışmaların yanı sıra iklim değişikliğine uyum konusunda da kendi imkanlarımızla çok önemli projelere imza attık. Karadeniz İklim Değişikliği Eylem Planı'nı açıkladık ve diğer bölgelerimizi de 2020 yılı itibariyle sırasıyla açıklayacağız. İlaveten iklim değişikliği eylem planlarımızda özellikle şehir planlaması evresinde iklim değişikliğine uyum odaklı planlama yapılmasına dair tarihi kararlar aldık. 11 Kasım 2019 tarihinde ülke genelinde 11 milyon ağaç dikimi gerçekleştirerek ormanlık alanlarımızı, karbondioksit yutak sahalarımızı arttırmak yönünde tarihi bir atılımı gerçekleştirmiş olduk ve Guinness Rekorlar kitabında yerimizi aldık. 81 ilimizde millet bahçesi yapıyor, kişi başı yeşil alan miktarını 8 metrekareden 15 metrekareye çıkaracak adımları atıyoruz. Yine 22 ilimizde ekolojik koridor oluşturmak suretiyle korunan alanlarımızın miktarını %9'dan OECD verileri olan %17'ye çıkarmak için projelerimizi gerçekleştiriyoruz. 2017 yılında Sayın Emine Erdoğan hanımefendinin himayelerinde başlatmış olduğumuz sıfır atık projesi kapsamında bugün ülkemizde 25.000 kamu kurum ve kuruluşunda uygulamaya geçtik. Yayınlamış olduğumuz yönetmelik çerçevesinde 2023 yılına kadar da tüm şehirlerimizde uygulamaya geçecek ve sıfır atık uygulamasını yaygınlaştıracağız. Ve bu çerçevede adeta iklim değişikliğiyle mücadelede projelerimizi bakanlıklarımızla, özel sektörümüzde, üniversitelerimiz ve sivil toplum kuruluşlarımızla işbirliği halinde yürütüyor. Milli mutabakat zemininde projelerimizi gerçekleştiriyoruz. Değerli misafirler, biliyorsunuz Eylül ayında Birleşmiş Milletler Genel Sekreterliği himayelerinde gerçekleştirdiğimiz iklim zirvesinde ülkemiz Kenya ile eş öncü ülke pozisyonunda altyapı, şehirler ve yerel eylem teması kapsamında oldukça önemli girişimlere liderlik ettik. Tema altında binalar, ulaştırma, yerel finansman gibi kritik konularda ülkeler somut yol haritalarını ve önümüzdeki yıl yapacakları projeleri ilan edecekler. Bu çalışmamızda iklim değişikliği ile ilgili mücadelede ne kadar kararlı ve samimi olduğumuzu da açıkça göstermektedir. Sayın Başkan, değerli katılımcılar, iklim değişikliği ile mücadelede küresel işbirliğinin sağlanması kaçınılmazdır. İklim değişikliği ile devamlı surette mücadele eden ülkemizin bu rejimde geri bırakılması düşünülemez. Aksine ülkemizin haklı taleplerinin koşulsuz ve ön yargısız olarak değerlendirilmesi gerekmektedir. Ülkemiz iklim değişikliğiyle mücadelede daha fazlasını yapmaya kararlıdır ve bunun için sistemde adil bir yer aramaktadır. Ülkemizin sistemin içerisinde yer alan düzenlemelere uygun şekilde hakkını araması kadar tabii bir durum olamaz. Türkiye, gelecek nesillere daha yaşanabilir dünya bırakmak konusunda kararlı olduğunu ifade etmek istiyor. 25. Taraflar Konferansı'nın hepimiz için hayırlara vesile olmasını temenni ediyor. Hepinize saygılar sunuyorum.
Teşekkür ederim, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency, Ms. Elizabeth Bourne, Minister for Ecology and Solidarity Transition of France. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, mes chers collègues, Mesdames et Messieurs les membres du corps diplomatique, Mesdames et Messieurs, depuis un an, les preuves scientifiques de l'urgence climatique s'accumulent. Elles sont irréfutables. Nos concitoyens et surtout notre jeunesse s'en sont fait le relais. Après le temps des paroles, ils exigent des actes. L'accord de Paris constitue une boussole qui doit guider notre action et c'est bien l'esprit de cette COP. L'heure d'agir est arrivée et chaque minute compte. L'année qui va s'ouvrir est déterminante pour réussir la transition écologique, pour changer nos sociétés. C'est notre responsabilité individuelle et collective. Et cette responsabilité est d'abord celle des pays avancés. Ils ont un devoir d'exemplarité dans leurs ambitions et dans les moyens d'y parvenir. Pour la France, l'ambition, c'est la neutralité carbone en 2050, désormais inscrite dans notre loi. Et pour l'Europe, nous défendons un rehaussement de l'objectif 2030, moins 55% d'émissions et un engagement vers le zéro carbone net au milieu du siècle. Cette ambition, nous nous donnons les moyens d'y parvenir en décarbonant notre industrie et nos transports, en développant massivement les énergies renouvelables, en rénovant nos bâtiments, en sortant définitivement du charbon. Mais être responsable devant l'urgence climatique, c'est aussi être au rendez-vous de la solidarité internationale. Je refuse la posture qui consisterait à montrer du doigt les pays qui n'ont pas les moyens de cette transition et qui souvent payent déjà le prix du dérèglement climatique. Je refuse l'hypocrisie qui consisterait à fixer des objectifs en sachant qu'il n'y a pas les moyens. La transition écologique se fera avec la solidarité au sein de nos États et entre nos pays, en particulier vis-à-vis des plus vulnérables. C'est pourquoi les pays développés se sont collectivement engagés à apporter d'ici l'année prochaine 100 milliards de dollars par an pour l'action climatique dans les pays en développement. Cet engagement doit être tenu. Lorsque la France a accueilli la reconstitution du Fonds vert, personne n'y croyait. Et pourtant, avec l'engagement de tous, nous avons réussi à réunir 10 milliards de dollars. La France a doublé sa contribution à 1,5 milliard. C'est un exemple concret de solidarité et d'engagement tenu. Mesdames et messieurs, il n'y a pas de planète de rechange. Le climat et la biodiversité sont notre patrimoine commun. Et pour les protéger, il n'y a plus une seconde à perdre. Le président Emmanuel Macron a lancé en septembre un appel à la tribune des Nations Unies pour le retour du courage. Je crois que cette COP25 et l'année qui vient peuvent montrer qu'il est de retour. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Yuval Steinitz, Minister of Energy of Israel. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you. Madam President, Executive Directors, Honorable Ministers, and distinguished guests. I am honored and privileged to speak here today on behalf of the Government of Israel. I wish to congratulate the Chilean presidency and our Spanish hosts for organizing this remarkable conference. As the Israeli Minister of Energy, I came here with a crystal clear message. Israel remains fully committed to the implementation of the Paris Agreement. We are fully aware of the significant responsibility we share in the global efforts to promote a low-carbon economy. Today, I wish to share with you our vision and actions which will enable us to achieve a clean and reliable low-carbon economy. Over the last 5 years, I have initiated several strategic decisions to phase out our use of coal in our power plants. Recently, I have decided to increase our level of ambition and to take bigger and bolder steps. The first decision is to terminate the use of coal in our power plants as early as 2025. This will make Israel the world leader in the reduction of coal use between the years 2012 and 2025. I brought with me a diagram. In 2012, just a few years ago, 63% of the Israeli electricity was produced with coal. Today, it's about 30%, and in 2025, it will be 0. The second country is Britain, that is going from 40% to 0 in 2025. You can see here other European countries, Europe, the OECD, and I'm very proud that Israel is becoming a world leader, the world leader in the reduction of coal and replacing coal with renewable and with a natural gas. The second decision is to draw up a plan that will allow us to dramatically increase our commitment to renewable energy and to raise our target, the targets that we committed to in Paris, from 17% up to 25, 30 to 30% by 2030. By 2025, we will be using only natural gas and renewables in our electricity generation. The outcome of these steps between 2014 until today, we have managed to reduce 57% of CO2 pollutants, 40% of NOx pollutants from our electricity generation. By 2025, we will have reduced CO2 emission from electricity generation by total of 30% and per capita about 50% reduction. It is quite challenging due to the fact that Israel renewable energy is mainly solar, and in light of Israel's national characteristics such as population density and land scarcity. Another effort that we are doing is to set a goal of 100% electrification of new cars and also CNG-based heavy transport by 2030. I understand I have to conclude, isn't it? Okay. So 2 things to conclude. First, this reduction of coal and other fuels enable us to reduce also, of course, air pollution, not just carbon emission, but air pollution. And you can see that we are going almost to eliminate air pollution from our power plants, from our energy sector by 2025. And the second thing is, and this is about the second element of the Paris Agreement, is helping other countries in the third world to face and to struggle with climate change. As you know, Israel is the only, just one example, Israel is the only country in the world that desalinate 80% of its drinking water and recycle 85% of its sewage for agriculture. Israel is well known as an innovation and startups nation, and we are ready to share our experience, technology, and innovations with countries around the world in order to reduce climate change and also to struggle against the effects of climate change, especially in poor countries and around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Thani bin Ahmed Al Zaroudi, Minister of Climate and Environment of the United Arab Emirates. You have the floor, Excellency.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني التواجد معكم اليوم في الدورة الجديدة من هذا الحدث العالمي الهام، وأن أنقل لكم تحيات دولة الإمارات قيادة وشعبا وتثمينها لجهودكم في الحد من تداعيات التغير المناخي. كما أود أن أتقدم بالشكر لمملكة إسبانيا لاستضافتها لهذه الدورة من المؤتمر، كما أتوجه بخالص التهاني لمعالي كارولينا زالديفار وزيرة البيئة في جمهورية تشيلي على ترأسها لهذه الدورة، والشكر إلى رئيس الدورة السابقة معالي ميخائيل كورتيكا وزير الطاقة في جمهورية بولندا على جهوده في العام الماضي. السيد الرئيس، نجتمع اليوم في ظل تسارع للأخبار حول الآثار التي أحدثتها الكوارث المناخية التي وقعت مؤخرا في العديد من البلدان، وحلول الموعد المحدد بموجب اتفاق باريس للإعلان عن تقييم التعهدات الوطنية للدول الموقعة على الاتفاق وخطتها لرفع سقف هذه التعهدات. أن الوقت لم يعد في صالحنا، فتداعيات التغير المناخي باتت أكثر حدة وتضاعف تأثيرها السلبي على حياة الملايين من البشر. الحضور الكريم، أن دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة منذ تأسيسها انتهجت طريق تحقيق النمو الاقتصادي بشكل متوازن مع حماية البيئة والحفاظ على استدامتها للموارد الطبيعية، وأبدت التزاما طوعيا بقضية التغير المناخي في وقت مبكر، وسارعت في بذل الجهود البارزة للحد من هذه التداعيات للتغير المناخي. وخلال الشهور 12 الأخيرة سجلت دولة الإمارات خطوات جديدة في مسيرة عملها من أجل المناخ على المستويين المحلي والعالمي. فعلى المستوى الدولي وفرت منصة عالمية للنقاش حول المساهمات الوطنية المحددة وتقييمها وإمكانيات رفع سقف طموحات دول الأطراف عبر تنظيمها واستضافتها لاجتماع أبو ظبي للمناخ يونيو الماضي. والمزيد من التحفيز العالمي بشأن هذه المساهمات، أعلنت الدولة في قمة الأمم المتحدة للمناخ عن رفع سقف مساهماتها الوطنية وزيادة حصة الطاقة النظيفة من إجمالي مزيج الطاقة المحلي إلى 50% بحلول عام 2050. وتعزيزا لشراكة القطاع الخاص في جهود العمل من أجل المناخ وعلى القطاع الخاص بشكل خاص، أطلقت شركة مصدر الإماراتية عدد مشاريع في مجال الطاقة المتجددة، منها المساهمة في صندوق الاستثمار في تطوير البنية التحتية لشحن المركبات الكهربائية والتي أطلقته وزارة الخزانة البريطانية، وساهمت كذلك في زيادة نسبة الطاقة المتجددة في منطقة الخليج العربي عبر مشاركتها في مشروع محطة دومة الجندل لطاقة الرياح في المملكة العربية السعودية وبطاقة 400 ميجاوات. وفي غرب البلقان نفذت الشركة مشروع محطة شيبوك 1 المزرعة الأكبر للرياح في تلك المنطقة. ودعما للدول النامية تنفذ مجموعة واسعة من مشاريع الطاقة المتجددة عبر مبادرة صندوق الشراكة مع دول البحر الكاريبي. وبالتوازي مع العمل العالمي، كان المستوى المحلي نصيبا كبيرا من الجهود الإماراتية من أجل المناخ، حيث تتسع حزمة الطاقة المتجددة عبر تشغيل مشروع محطة نور أبو ظبي بقدرة إجمالية 1.1 جيجاوات، وإطلاق العمل في مشروع جديد للطاقة الشمسية في العاصمة أبو ظبي بقدرة 2 جيجاوات خلال الأسابيع القادمة، واستكمال أعمال مجمع الشيخ محمد بن راشد للطاقة الشمسية، والذي ستصل طاقته الإجمالية عند الانتهاء منه إلى 5 جيجاوات. كما أود أن نشير هنا إلى نتائج مناقصة المرحلة الخامسة من المجمع بطاقة تصل إلى 900 ميجاوات، سجلت الكلفة الأقل عالميا لوحدات إنتاج الطاقة الشمسية حيث بلغت 1.69 سنت أمريكي للكيلووات للساعة. وتعزيز لحصة الطاقة النظيفة بشكل عام، يجري استكمال مشروع براكة للطاقة النووية السلمية، والذي سيوفر عند انتهائه 25% من احتياجات دولة الإمارات للكهرباء. حضور كريم، تمتلك دولة الإمارات مسيرة حافلة في العمل من أجل المناخ، ولطالما واكبت الالتزامات الواردة في اتفاق باريس وقرارات مؤتمر دول الأطراف فيما يخص إعداد مساهمتها الوطنية الطوعية ورفع سقفنا الوطني وفقا للظروف الوطنية. وانطلاقا من هذه المسيرة ندعو كافة الأطراف إلى تكثيف جهودهم لحماية كوكب الأرض. ونحث الدول أيضا على مراعاة مبدأ الإنصاف وتباين المسؤوليات في جميع المواضيع المطروحة للتفاوض، وخاصة تدابير الاستجابة والتنوع الاقتصادي ونقل التكنولوجيا والتمويل لكي نصل في نهاية دورتنا الحالية إلى اتفاقية ذات جدوى وفاعلية. كما ندعو جميع المفاوضين انطلاقا من مبدأ الإنصاف إعطاء مزيد من الاهتمام لجهود وتدابير التكيف مع تداعيات تغير مناخي لما لها من أولوية لدى الأمم والدول النامية، متطلعين لمستويات متقدمة من التعاون المثمر مع أمانة الاتفاقية والدول المتقدمة في هذا المجال لتوفير التقنيات اللازمة والدراسات العلمية والأبحاث وتدريب الكوادر حتى تأتي جهودنا بثمارها. وأخيراً ستعمل دولة الإمارات عبر استضافتها العام المقبل للحدث الأروع في العالم المعرض العالمي إكسبو 2020 إلى إفساح المجال لقدرات الابتكار والإبداع وتوظيف أحدث التقنيات الداعمة لتحقيق الاستدامة وتصب نتائجه كافة في صالح جهود مواجهة تحديات التغير المناخي. لذا أدعوكم للمشاركة معنا في هذا الحدث العالمي والهام. كما أوجه الدعوة لكافة الوفود المشاركة لحضور فعاليات أسبوع أبو ظبي للاستدامة في دورته الجديدة التي تنعقد في العاصمة أبو ظبي خلال يناير القادم، والذي يشكل منصة عالمية لاستعراض ومناقشة حلول مبتكرة لقضايا الاستدامة العالمية وفي مقدمتها تغير المناخ. أتمنى لكم التوفيق في هذا المؤتمر، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Barbara Creasy, Minister of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries of South Africa. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the session. South Africa, like all African countries, is experiencing serious and ever-increasing climate change-related impacts, including the frequency and severity of storms, droughts, and floods. These are already causing significant social and economic disruption. It is an unfortunate reality that the brunt of these impacts are borne by the poorest and most vulnerable communities and groups, largely found in developing countries. We all agree that climate change is the biggest threat facing humanity this century. We all need to respond according to our respective responsibilities, circumstances, and capacity. Our collective global response must be informed by the best available science. The most recent scientific reports on oceans, land, and scenarios towards a 1.5 degree rise gives a stark warning that we must act now. We must work to prevent accelerated desertification and ecosystem and land degradation. We must also ensure that the serious risks to sustainable fisheries and security of our food and tourism are minimized. At a regional level, the African Ministerial Conference on the Environment, AMSEN, reflected that Africa's vulnerability to climate change is exacerbated by, amongst other factors, our history of colonialism and underdevelopment, together with our current problems of indebtedness, high levels of inequality, unemployment, and lack of robust infrastructure. Given the important issues we must discuss at COP26 next year, it is crucial to finalize the full operationalization of the Paris Agreement here in Madrid. This includes reaching agreement on the financial support to enable developing countries to communicate more ambitious adaptation and mitigation contributions. Robust modalities and rules with environmental integrity governing the market and non-market mechanisms under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, including reaching agreement on how to contribute to adaptation finance through a share of proceeds of all carbon market transactions flowing to the Adaptation Fund. In conclusion, Madam President and Chair of the session, as announced by President Ramaphosa in his submission to the UN Secretary's Climate Action Summit in September this year, South Africa is committed to fulfilling and enhancing our indices following a participatory and inclusive process in the country. As part of this effort, our carbon tax came into effect on the 1st of June this year. Additionally, comprehensive climate change legislation is in the pipeline. Our effort is beginning to bear fruit. South Africa's third biennial update report shows greenhouse gas emission reductions from 2012 to 2015. As a responsible global citizen, we will always strive to make a fair contribution to the global climate change effort in a manner that simultaneously addresses our national priorities to eradicate poverty as well as reduce inequality and unemployment. We commit here, Madam President, to working constructively with you and ensuring an acceptable and fair outcome here in Madrid. I would also like to extend our deep appreciation to the government and people of the Kingdom of Spain for their warm hospitality and excellent arrangements for this meeting. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Romuald Ferreira, Minister of the Environment and Housing of Bahamas. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I count it a privilege to be here and share with you this afternoon. As we are all aware, the science is clear. Our planet is getting warmer. This was the hottest summer on record since we've been keeping records. It spawned Hurricane Dorian, which was the strongest hurricane that we've seen since we've been keeping records in the North Atlantic. It struck our country. It left 70 people dead, thousands missing, an entire nation traumatized. We lost 1/4 of our GDP, which equates to about $3.6 billion. The Bahamas is in the front lines of a climate change war that we did not start and we contribute minimally to. And so, as we are faced and challenged by sea level rise and increasing climate events, and this is COP25 and it's hailed as the Ambition COP, I'm saying right now that if it's the Ambition COP, then ambition is not reflected in countries that are negotiating and seeking to roll over Kyoto credits or double counting. As I said in the very first instance, the science is clear. The science can't teach you ethics, though. The science can't teach you the right thing to do. And the right thing to do is to reduce your emissions, is to change the way you produce energy, because what you do has consequences, and we reap the harvest of those consequences. We have done our part, Mr. President. We've introduced a comprehensive suite of environmental legislation. We intend to take our marine protected areas up by another 10%, which will give us 20% marine protected areas. We've introduced renewable energies to our grids. We've done all of that. We are doing our part. But the ethics of it demands that the nations that are not doing their part live up to their responsibilities. We've been on this road before as a people, as a race, as humanity. We did it with the ozone layer and the Montreal Protocol, where action and bipartisanship resulted in the ozone hole closing. So we can do it again. It can be done again. Bipartisanship is the key, and we have a success story to follow. So on behalf of the 400,000 residents of my country, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, now living in a post-Dorian age, I urge you to take action and take action now. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And on behalf of the Presidency, I'd like to offer my sincere sympathies to the people of the Bahamas. It is now my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Angus Taylor, Minister for Energy and Emissions Reductions of Australia. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, ministers and colleagues. I thank Chile for presiding over this important COP session we are all at today and over this week. I also recognise the contribution made by Spain for agreeing to host this meeting at very short notice. You have our thanks. Mr. President, the Paris Agreement sent a powerful signal to the world that countries are serious about climate change. Australia is committed to the Paris Agreement. We are already on track to meet and beat the targets we have set for 2030, just as we are meeting and beating our Kyoto targets. Our recently released forecasts say that we expect to beat our 2020 targets by 411 million tonnes, which is around 80% of a full year of emissions. But strong messages and targets alone won't address climate change, no matter how ambitious. The world needs action to reduce emissions, and Australia believes technology is central to achieving this. We can only reduce emissions as fast as the deployment of commercially viable technologies allow. This means we need to get the right technology to the marketplace when and where it is needed. In Australia, we're developing a technology investment roadmap. The roadmap will establish an enduring strategic approach to Australia's low-emission technology investments. We'll continue to work closely with our industry, researchers and our international partners to find commercially viable deployment pathways for these priority technologies. An example of a priority technology is hydrogen. Last month, we released our National Hydrogen Strategy. The strategy outlines actions for the development of a hydrogen industry that offers enormous benefits for our economy and could, through our exports, assist other countries to reduce their emissions. We recognise that international collaboration will be crucial to achieving our technology vision. We are an active participant in mission innovation, particularly in the hydrogen, heating and cooling and smart grid challenges. I welcome the recently formed Leadership Group for Industry Transition and am pleased to announce Australia will join that initiative. Australia provides an important perspective as one of the world's biggest and most trusted energy suppliers. In Australia, an unprecedented wave of low emissions energy investment is already underway. Last year, renewable investment was Australia's highest on record of $14.1 billion, which is world-leading investment given our population. Renewables are now more than 25% of our electricity supply in the national electricity market. Australia's Clean Energy Finance Corporation, the world's most successful green bank, has mobilised over $20 billion in new investments. The Australian Renewable Energy Agency has provided $1.4 billion to improve the affordability and increase the supply of renewable energy in Australia. And Australia has the world's highest uptake of household solar panels, with around 2 million, or 1 in 5 Australian households now having solar panels. This increase has not been without issues, and one of our challenges is to ensure energy remains affordable and reliable as these changes occur. We cannot move faster than the technology allows. Our long-term strategy to reduce emissions is focused on deploying cost-effective technologies, and we will be releasing more detailed strategy next year. The strategy will build on the $3.5 billion climate solutions package announced earlier this year, which has provided the pathway to meet or exceed our 2030 targets, as we have done for our previous targets. As well as reducing emissions at home, Australia is focused on working with our developing country partners to address climate challenges, particularly our Pacific neighbours, and we're delivering on our $1 billion climate finance commitment from 2015 to 2020. We've announced an additional $500 million over 5 years from 2020 to help Pacific nations invest in clean energy and climate and disaster resilience. Acknowledging the importance of continuing to build resilience, Australia is pleased to be hosting the Asia-Pacific Ministerial on Disaster Risk Reduction in Brisbane in June 2020. We will also invest $140 million to mobilise private sector investments in low emissions, climate resilient solutions for the Pacific and Southeast Asia. Like our Pacific neighbours, we recognise oceans are critical to health, wealth and survival, and we're a world leader in ocean protection and sustainable use. We play a leading role in the International Partnership for Blue Carbon to improve understanding and management of coastal blue carbon. Mr President, here in Madrid, we need to finalise arrangements for the Paris Agreement carbon markets that give us confidence that traded carbon units represent genuine emission reductions. A clear path forward on Article 6 arrangements will help countries to deliver on our Paris Agreement goals and signal commitment to Paris Agreement implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Prakash Javadekar, Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and Minister of Information and Broadcasting of India. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Mahatma Gandhi used to say that the future depends upon what we do today. I think 5 years ago, we reached a very comprehensive agreement in Paris. Everybody accepted it. Very few countries have not ratified it. My first appeal is, let us concentrate on implementing the Paris Accord. Our own NDCs, we need to act upon. There are only, as per the report, 6 countries which are on track. And I'm happy to say that India is leading the pack. Therefore, my first appeal is don't bring new issues, don't deviate, and don't change the goalpost. Let us concentrate on NDC implementation and the progress we can make and can review when we do global stocktake in 2023. We promised 35% of emission, reducing the emission intensity. We have already achieved 21%, and I'm very sure we will achieve even more than that. We promised 40% of energy mix by renewables. We have already achieved 83 gigawatt of 175 promise in Paris. And we have now declared, our Prime Minister Modi has declared 450 gigawatt. Carbon tax, we are probably the few countries which have levied carbon tax of $6 per ton of coal production. And at the same time, we have also put on, in a way, discouraging carbon tax for diesel consumption. And we have 36 parties in Parliament, and all have agreed to this. That's India. We have already flown a commercial flight completely on biofuel. We have leapfrog to fuel 6, and this fuel Euro 6 standard vehicles also will be available from April. We have put up 460 million LED bulbs and street lights. It is saving emissions to a great extent. We have given 80 million LPG gas connections to do away with firewood firing, and we have given tremendous e-push. There is 15,000 square kilometers of new forest, and we have done many things. But I want to give only 5 suggestions. First, pre-2020 targets by developed world. There is no action on this, and we can't forget after 2020. So I believe that CDM should continue for up to 2023. We should not bring in raising the ambition at this stage, but in 2023. Developed world owes $1 trillion, not $100 billion. $100 billion was for 1 year. Now it is 10 years. It is $1 trillion, and out of which even only 2% or 3% has been given. So we need finance on table. Technology has to be available at affordable cost. We cannot make profits from disaster. And therefore, technology is important point. Last point, Article 6, as I said, CDM should continue till 2023 so that the credits we have earned will not go waste. I will finally say, Thoreau's quote I will give. I quote, "What is the use of a house if you haven't got a tolerable planet?" So that is where we are living. And I invite you all to the great, good pavilion of India where Gandhiji's thoughts are exhibited. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Tawfik Al-Shajabi, Minister of Water and Environment of Yemen. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
شكرا جزيلا سيد الرئيس، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الوزراء ورؤساء الوفود، السيدات والسادة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نلتقي اليوم في لحظة فارقة يشهد فيها العالم تحديات متزايدة فيما يتعلق بالآثار الناجمة عن تغير المناخ، الأمر الذي يتطلب التكاتف الدولي من أجل تحقيق آمال وتطلعات شعوبنا في حياة آمنة ومستقرة يساهم فيها التوصل إلى اتفاق دولي طموح ومتوازن لمواجهة تحديات تغير المناخ، ويحقق التوازن المأمول بين التنمية الاقتصادية والاجتماعية والحفاظ على البيئة، ويساهم في إقرار السلم والأمن الدوليين. السيدات والسادة، إن المؤتمر ال25 للأطراف ينعقد في ظل تزايد ملحوظ للتحديات والتأثيرات السلبية لظاهرة التغير المناخي، لا سيما على الدول الأقل نمواً ومنها بلادنا اليمن. إن هذه التحديات لا تشكل تهديداً لجهود التنمية ومكافحة الفقر والتنمية الزراعية فحسب، بل تهدد البقاء الفعلي للكثير من الدول. إن الجمهورية اليمنية كغيرها من الدول تعتبر عرضة لأخطار هذه الظاهرة، حيث تعد التغيرات المناخية إحدى أهم المخاطر التي تواجه اليمن على كافة المستويات، لا سيما في ظل استمرار المواجهات المسلحة في بلادنا، والتي أعقبت الانقلاب المسلح للميليشيات الحوثية على الدولة، وما ترتب على ذلك من دمار طال كل مفاصل الحياة في اليمن وطال الأنظمة البيئية برا وبحرا وجوا، بالإضافة إلى ما تتعرض له بلادنا من كوارث طبيعية في السنوات الأخيرة بسبب تكرار الأعاصير المدارية المدمرة في شمال المحيط الهندي وبحر العرب والناتجة عن التغيرات المناخية. ولعل آخر هذه الأعاصير كان إعصار بافان الذي ضرب جزيرة سقطرى اليمنية قبل أيام. السيدات والسادة، إن هذا المؤتمر الهام يأتي في أعقاب التوصل إلى اتفاق عالمي بشأن المناخ وفقا للمفاوضات التي عقدت أثناء مؤتمر الأمم المتحدة ال21 للتغير المناخي في باريس في العام 2015، وذلك بهدف احتواء الاحترار العالمي إلى أقل من 2 درجات مع السعي بالوصول إلى 1.5 درجة. ولا بد من الانطلاق من هذه القاعدة الصلبة نحو آفاق أوسع وأكثر طموحاً في سبيل الحد من الآثار السلبية للتغيرات المناخية. إن الجمهورية اليمنية تواجه تحديات بيئية كبيرة، منها زيادة معدلات الجفاف والتصحر وشحة المياه وتغير مواسم الهطول المطري وارتفاع معدل وشدة العواصف والكوارث الطبيعية. كل ذلك ساهم للأسف في زيادة انتشار الأمراض والأوبئة، وعرض المحمية الطبيعية في اليمن لتهديدات تؤثر على تنوعها الحيوي والحياة الطبيعية فيها. السيدات والسادة، إن خيارنا الأساسي في اليمن كدولة من الدول الأقل نمواً هو التكيف مع الآثار السلبية لتغير المناخ والحد من تأثيره على الإنسان والبيئة والاقتصاد، ونتطلع إلى أن يفضي هذا المؤتمر إلى تحقيق نتائج ملموسة ومخرجات عادلة وآليات فعالة تراعي حقوق الدول المتضررة من الآثار السلبية لتغير المناخ. وفي الختام نتمنى لهذا المؤتمر النجاح لضمان مستقبل أفضل للأجيال القادمة وتمكين الدول النامية والأقل نمواً من تحقيق تطلعات شعوبها المشروعة في حياة أفضل وتنمية مستدامة. جزيل الشكر والتقدير لمملكة أسبانيا على حسن التنظيم والإعداد لهذا المؤتمر، والشكر موصول للأمانة الفنية وكذلك دولة تشيلي لرصد هذا المؤتمر. السلام عليكم.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Malik Amin Aslam, Federal Minister of Climate Change of Pakistan. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Mr. President, let me take the opportunity to first congratulate the government and people of Chile for assuming the presidency of COP25, and to convey our appreciation to the government of Spain for their support in hosting the conference in this beautiful city of Madrid. Mr. President, let us not be under any illusion. The world, as shaped by us today, is now on a war path with nature. And we, the political shapers of this situation, are collectively leading the charge brigade. While nature may be resilient, it is no longer silent, and an era of consequences is already upon us. The virulent cyclones, rising heat waves, freak floods, melting glaciers, and rising sea levels are all vivid and living indicators of not only our failing battle, but also nature's forceful reply. Mr. President, this battle against nature is not a battle that can be won, nor a battle that should be won. Instead, a collective retreat is needed to try and take nature on board, to allow its space to bounce back and to tread on a different path of ecologically balanced growth before we hit the thresholds of climate irreversibility. The politics of climate change played out in these hallowed halls unfortunately remains out of sync with this reality and the scientific evidence of climate change. If this continues, all of us may soon be destined to the dustbins of history, a history of self-inflicted destruction. Our youth is out on the streets and sees the urgency and emergency. Our scientists not only see it, but have already predicted the abyss facing us, and our economies are already draining under the burden of forced adaptation costs. So, Mr. President, let us negotiate to act and not to further delay action. Within the Committee of Nations, Pakistan solidly supports the Paris consensus, and at the same time, it faces a climate challenge which is not only unique, but equally inescapable. We contribute less than 1% of the global greenhouse gases, but yet every year we keep on climbing up the ladder of climate vulnerability. The long-term German Watch Index places Pakistan at 5th position in terms of climate vulnerability and 3rd in terms of the economic losses borne, estimated at $3.2 billion. Within this ranking, we also join a small and unique group of countries which is consistently and simultaneously appearing on not only the yearly but also the long-term climate vulnerability index. This, Mr. President, is not an enviable position to be in, and certainly not a position of our own choosing nor of our own making, as it places Pakistan squarely on the front lines of an unfolding disaster. Climate change, as viewed from Pakistan's lens, may well be the biggest human rights violation of history, where the lives and livelihoods of billions of people has been put at risk, all due to the unbridled pollution and uncontrolled excesses of a few. Pakistan does not have an option to escape climate change. The forced climate adaptation needs remain at between $7 to $4 billion per annum. While facing this daunting challenge, Pakistan remains equally committed to raising its ambition on climate action and lead the response in shaping a new future. Mr. President, this future is possible. We in Pakistan have chosen to position ourselves to tread on a sustainable development pathway in line with the spirit of the Paris Agreement. It's a paradigm shift in our business as usual, and this is at play which involves enormous political and economic costs. Led by our Prime Minister Imran Khan's green vision and backed with concerted action, Pakistan has been making a shift towards a clean and green Pakistan. We shifted away from having the highest deforestation rate in Asia by successfully planting 1 billion trees in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province in 4 years and increasing the provincial forest cover by 6.3%. We have now raised the bar by initiating the 10 billion tree tsunami across the whole country. Secondly, we have decided to shift away from polluting transport by framing our first electric vehicle policy, which is now targeting a 30% shift to electric vehicles by 2030. Earlier this month, the city of Karachi in Pakistan launched the world's first zero-emissions metro line, which incidentally is also the first transport project under the GCF to get financing. Thirdly, a Clean Green Cities Index has been initiated in 20 cities to trigger a shift towards improved waste management and sanitation. Concurrently, Pakistan has decided to get out of its plastic addiction by banning the single-use plastic bag, which is now being enforced across the country. Fourthly, our Recharge Pakistan initiative is focused on shifting our direction by effectively managing and prudently utilizing our water resources, turning catastrophic floods into an opportunity for recharging aquifers and naturally restoring ecosystems. Concurrently, to fulfill our energy needs, we are making a purposeful transition towards renewable energy by harnessing the untapped potential of wind, solar, and hydro in Pakistan, and are targeting a huge 60% shift towards clean energy by 2030. In compliance with our responsibilities, Pakistan's second national communication was recently submitted The National Committee on Carbon Markets has been announced, and our NDC is being updated into an enhanced NDC, and it is being financed by country finances. Also, Pakistan is now launching the Ecosystem Restoration Fund as an independent, transparent, and comprehensive financial mechanism which shall facilitate Pakistan's transition towards climate-compatible development, all using nature-based solutions to address nature-based challenges. This platform will allow partners to share with Pakistan the dream of a better, low-carbon, and ecologically balanced future. Finally, Mr. President, while countries like Pakistan are willing to think out of the box and as well as act out of the box, we urge that raising ambition is essentially seen in the context of specific national circumstances and development imperatives of developing countries, as well as the unfulfilled commitments with regard to mitigation, technology transfer, and provisions of climate finance, all of which need to be met urgently and to be scaled up significantly. Pakistan remains committed and ready to play its part in what has to be a coordinated effort based on a relationship of trust and a partnership with nature. We have to act now, Mr. President, because our collective inaction will neither be forgiven nor forgotten. Thank you very much.
I thank you, Your Excellency. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, on behalf of the conference, I would like to thank you all for your statements. Distinguished delegates, we will continue with the delivery of national statements today at 1500 hours, 3 p.m. in this plenary. With this, I declare the joint meeting of the COP, CMP and CMA adjourned. Thank you.